Chapter 30. No, I came back yesterday. Nianji is going back to school today. Qinlai quickly explained. Do you want to see her? Hua Xiaoheng shook his head calmly. No, we'll talk when we get to the base. Fan Jian, the orderly, parked his car by the side of the road. Hua Xiaoheng, Zhao Liangzi and Yin Shixiang got into the car and quickly returned to the base. Qinlai waited for Hua Xiaoheng in his office. Hua Xiaoheng was also very straightforward and tossed him a backpack as soon as he entered. See if this can still be used? Qinlai opened the backpack and took out the lead box inside. It was a box of test tubes. When he opened the box containing the test tubes and saw the liquid inside, his heart almost jumped out of his throat. Hua Xiao. What is this? It's the original strain of Oda Masao's virus. See if you can combine his data to find antibodies and create a vaccine. Hua Xiaoheng's voice was low and his expression was very serious. I know. Qinlai nodded and thought for a moment before comforting Hua Xiaoheng. Don't worry about Nianji. I've been keeping a close eye on her condition and it hasn't worsened yet. Currently? It's only been a week. Hua Xiaoheng wasn't fooled. Can you promise in the future? Qinlai snuck a peek at Hua Xiaoheng, trying to see if there was anything different on his face. However, Hua Xiaoheng was always indifferent and quiet, so it was hard to tell what he was thinking. I'll keep an eye on Nianji's physical. I'll tell her this time that I made the antidote to her aphrodisiac. She didn't do that with a man. Qinlai said quietly as he put the original strain of the virus Hua Xiaoheng brought back into the fridge. Also, Nianji didn't want me to tell you that she was drugged. Remember not to let it slip. Hua Xiaoheng didn't speak for a moment. He looked down and flicked on his lighter to light a cigarette and take a deep drag. After a long time he finally grunted. Qinlai walked back to his desk and sat down. He turned on his computer and showed Hua Xiaoheng 2 comparison pictures. Hua Xiaoheng, don't worry. I noticed that Nianji's condition is much better than the others. Maybe it's not that bad. Hua Xiaoheng walked over and stood behind him. He squinted at Qinlai's computer screen, a cigarette in one hand and the other behind his back as he listened to Qinlai's explanation. The data on the left is from Oda Masao's profile. Look, his statistics are less than half of what a normal person would have. The data on the right is the result of my monitoring of Nianji for the past week. Look, she's extremely healthy. Normal people don't even have such good data. Hua Xiaoheng's dark eyes stared at the computer screen. After a while he finally walked away and sat on the sofa opposite Qinlai's desk. He rested one arm on the back of the sofa and held a cigarette in his hand. After thinking for a while he finally said, hurry up and develop the vaccine. I'll come back in 3 days. He then got up and walked out. 3 days. Hua Xiao, there's no way to set a time limit for developing a vaccine. Do you think your soldiers are on a mission? This was scientific research. Scientific research. Qinlai glared at Hua Xiaoheng's back and almost roared. Hua Xiaoheng left Qinlai's office and returned to his place. He saw that Yin Shixiang had just put down the phone. Hua Xiaoheng glanced at him and Yin Shixiang hurriedly reported, Hua Xiao, it's Nianji. She's going back to school and called to ask when you'll be back. Hua Xiaoheng raised his arm and the cigarette in his hand drew a parabola in the air before falling into the trash can. I have to go back to headquarters. Little Zay, come with me. Big Xiong, you stay here. If something happens to Nianji, you'll be nearby to take care of her. Yin Shixiang nodded and walked back to his desk to sit down. He turned on his computer and looked at his schedule. He frowned and asked, what about Nianji's post-grad interview? Do as you see fit. Hua Xiaoheng finished speaking and walked out without looking back. Early Monday morning, Gu Nianji was carrying her backpack and dragging a small suitcase. She had just walked out of her Fengya precinct to hail a cab when she saw class rep Mei Xiaowen wearing a light gray Burberry windbreaker. He was leaning against a Buick parked at the entrance of the precinct, smiling at her. Class rep? Gu Nianji was shocked. She looked around. You are? Yes, I was waiting for you. I wanted to give you a surprise. Mei Xiaowen walked over and took the small suitcase from her naturally. You're bringing a suitcase back to the dormitory? There's so much stuff, you should have called me earlier. Gu Nianji looked up at Mei Xiaowen. Under the morning sun, Mei Xiaowen's skin was fair and refined. His eyes were clear behind his gold-rimmed glasses and his voice was even more refined. Why are you looking at me? Don't you recognize me? No. Gu Nianji shook her head. You're the class rep for sure. If I have the chance to be in the same class as you in the future, I'll still choose you as my class republic. Mei Xiaowen laughed heartily. Nianji, I didn't come to pick you up to vote. He reached out to open the car door for Gu Nianji. Get in. Gu Nianji had no choice but to get in. She smiled. Tell me, class representative, what else do you want? Let's see if I can afford it. Mei Xiaowen leisurely got in with a smile. Nianji, can't you tell I'm courting you? Gu Nianji's tiny face finally reddened. Class rep. You can't joke about this. I'm not joking. I've been courting you for 2 years and you still don't know. I have no choice but to come clean. Mei Xiaowen laughed as he drove. He even glanced at Gu Nianji. Gu Nianji wasn't even 18 yet, so she was 4 or 5 years younger than her classmates. Compared to them, she really matured a lot later. Also, her classmates knew she was young, so most of them treated her like a little sister. Although they took care of her, none of them really pursued her as a girlfriend. This feeling was novel and exciting. Her delicate face blushed uncontrollably. It was like the light pink frost on a white peach. It was a feast for the eyes. Why aren't you saying anything? Don't you believe me? Mei Xiaowen asked with a smile. I made it clear in front of your uncle yesterday. You still don't believe me? Gu Nianji blinked her big misty eyes. Class rep, I really didn't know you. You were courting me. You really didn't know? Every time there's a good opportunity to go to a university for an internship, I'm the first to tell you. You don't want it, so I give it to someone else in class. You don't want to run exercises in the morning. I'll get you a jogging ticket. You come home late from night study. I'm always the last one to wait for you. I'll walk you to the dorm door before I go back. In the morning, you sleep in and skip breakfast to go to class. I buy you milk and honey cake between classes. Gu Nianji, I'm not saying this to make you feel grateful. It's just that we're graduating soon. If you still don't know I like you and am courting you, then I'm such a failure as a man. Monday. Please recommend me. Oh, _intersection. Oh. Chapter 31. Gu Nianji smiled sheepishly. Mei Xiaowen was the class rep of her class and was very nice to everyone in the class. Starting from their 3rd year in law school, they had the opportunity to intern at a big law firm. At the time, she had just transferred, so she really didn't know that Mei Xiaowen had specially taken care of her by letting her be the first to choose. She had always thought it was based on grades. How embarrassing. She had gone home too late to study at night and had gone back to the dorm with Mei Xiaowen many times, but she had thought the class rep was also someone who loved to study. Mei Xiaowen was also very good with words and made everyone feel comfortable around him. He was probably the type with a high EQ. She had also eaten milk and honey cake many times between classes, but the problem was that almost the entire class had a share. So it was all for her and only? Class rep, you're so subtle, I really wouldn't have known you were courting me if you didn't tell me. Gu Nianji felt tears welling up in her eyes. It turned out that his kindness to her wasn't just incidental, but because he liked her. But wasn't it great that the class rep was doing things for the other students? Gu Nianji felt conflicted. Her first reaction was to ask her most trusted guardian, Wuxia, what to do. But when she thought of Wuxia, she remembered the fingerprint incident and took 2 deep breaths. Smiling, she said, Class rep, can you delete my fingerprint from your phone? My family doesn't think it's good. Oh. Mei Xiaowen glanced at her. He also felt that he had been too hot-headed and rash yesterday. He wasn't sure if he had scared her. Okay, I can delete it. But you have to promise me that I'll pursue you, okay? As he spoke, Mei Xiaowen swiped open the phone to find the fingerprint storage area, only to find that it wasn't there at all. Did he not save it last time? Mei Xiaowen showed the phone to Gu Nianji. See, I didn't save it last time, so you don't have to delete it. Gu Nianji glanced at it and patted her chest in relief. Smiling, she said, Thank you, Class Republic. So you agree? Mei Xiaowen asked. It was another direct confession. Gu Nianji felt a strange feeling rise in her heart. Her heart raced and she didn't know how to respond. She looked down and after a while, looked up again to sneak a peek at Mei Xiaowen. Mei Xiaowen happened to turn his head and look at her from the corner of his eyes. There was a hint of a smile on his lips. Gu Nianji's heart skipped a beat. She abruptly turned her head to look at the scenery flying past outside the window. Her heart was in a mess. Should she give Wuxiao a call and ask him? After all, he was her guardian, but should she ask him about this? What Mei Xiaowen had just said made her want to try out what it was like to be in a relationship, but then she thought of Hua Xiaoheng's stern expression and was afraid he would scold her for it. However, a young girl who was about to turn 18 had a natural longing for love. In this era where people usually had their first love at the age of 14, she wasn't too young to be in a relationship at the age of 17, right? However, her experience was rather special. She had followed Hua Xiaoheng to the military camp at the age of 12 and had no chance to date a suitable boy. When he was 16, he came to Sea City because he wanted to go to university. He often heard his 3 roommates talk about their love experiences in the dorm, so it wasn't like he wasn't envious. Why not give it a try? Gunyanji's heart skipped a beat, but she didn't dare say it out loud. She still had to tell Hua Xiaoheng that if he didn't agree, she wouldn't agree to be Mei Xiaowen's girlfriend. Do you agree or not? Mei Xiaowen glanced at Gunyanji and asked with a smile, I'm not asking you to immediately agree to be my girlfriend, I'm only asking for permission to pursue you. They were about to graduate and everyone would be going their separate ways in a few months. He didn't want to miss out on this wonderful moment. There were many beautiful and talented girls in the law faculty, but almost all of them were shrewd and powerful. They could see through your heart, liver, spleen, lungs, and kidneys with just a glance. Girls like Gunyanji, who was lively, cute, smart, and pure, were the most popular. For example, most of the boys in their class had girlfriends who were freshmen and sophomores. They rarely went for girls in their class. Although Gunyanji was in the same class as them, she was young, about the same age as the freshmen. They had also been classmates for 2 years, so they knew each other very well. It was much more reliable than pursuing a girl he didn't know from scratch. Mei Xiaowen looked at the road ahead leisurely. Just like his life, it was a straight road. Gunyanji looked away from the car window and lowered her head in a panic. She wiped the hem of her light gray wool dress with one hand and mumbled, Class rep, how do you expect me to answer that? Not easy to answer? Then I'll take that as a yes. Mei Xiaowen smiled. If that's the case, the first thing is for you to stop calling me class representative, it's too formal. Call me Xiaowen, that's what my family calls me. He didn't use a surname, but it was intimate. But it wasn't too out of line. Gunyanji replied softly. Eh. There was a slight tremor in her soft voice. Although it wasn't loud, it lingered in Mei Xiaowen's ears for a long time. His hands tightened on the steering wheel. He hadn't expected Gunyanji's simple okay to make him so excited. Perhaps he wanted to like her more than he felt? The two of them didn't speak for the rest of the journey. It was like they had reached some sort of tacit understanding. When they arrived at school, Mei Xiaowen drove straight to the female dormitory. He got out of the car first and helped her drag her suitcase out. He picked up her backpack with one hand and walked her upstairs. Normally, boys weren't allowed to enter the female dormitory directly. However, Mei Xiaowen had been class rep for 4 years, so the dormitory manager was already familiar with him. When she saw him enter, she only waved at him and let him in. Mei Xiaowen nodded politely to the middle-aged manager and said, My classmate just recovered from her illness and returned to school. The manager recognized Gunyanji. She was the youngest and best student in the faculty of law. Nyanji, have you recovered from your illness? The manager greeted her with a smile. Your class rep is very responsible. He comes by almost 3 times a day to ask if you're back. Gunyanji nodded with a smile and handed her a bag of snacks. Thank you, manager. It's a small token of my appreciation. Snacks weren't considered a bribe, so the manager accepted it without any qualms. The two of them went upstairs, and as soon as they opened the door, the 3 roommates inside immediately screamed. Nyanji, you're finally back. Lil 4, have you recovered from your illness? Class rep purposely went to pick you up? You have to repay him. Chapter 32. Her 3 roommates screamed and threw themselves at Gunyanji, hugging her tightly. Mei Xiaowen stood at the door, amused to see them hugging each other. He admired Gunyanji. All 3 of her roommates were the cream of the crop. The oldest, Fong Wenxin, was known as Green Tea Fong. She was famous for being a green tea. Just from the nickname, one could tell she was the goddess of all boys and the enemy of all girls. The second oldest, Chao Yunshan, was known as the Holy Mother, or Lady Chao for short. Rumor had it that she really did have a lady in her family. Only an old aristocratic family could have such an intimidating aura. As for the third oldest, Wang Junya, she was beautiful and alluring. Everyone called her Little Temptress. She was also a weapon of mass destruction with a single glance. The 3 arrogant girls treated Gunyanji, an orphan girl with an ordinary family background who had transferred in midway, surprisingly well. They completely treated her like a younger sister and took care of her. So enthusiastic, look how scared our Nyanji is. Mei Xiaowen carried Gunyanji's backpack and dragged her suitcase as he walked in. Class rep went to pick her up personally. Nyanji, you're such a big deal. Little Temptress winked at Gunyanji. Gunyanji's eyes darted around. Class rep is the one who picks up a classmate every time she's hospitalized, right? You're so annoying. Little 4. You have to argue with me every time. Little Temptress patted Gunyanji's shoulder and pouted at Mei Xiaowen. Class rep, this is as far as I can help you. Our little 4 may be young, but she's the top student in her class. You can't fool her. I'm being sincere. Why would I fool you? Mei Xiaowen didn't hide anything. It looked like he had already spoken to Gunyanji's roommates. Lady Chow wordlessly took Gunyanji's backpack and suitcase from Mei Xiaowen and placed them beside her desk. Green Tea Fong crossed her arms and leaned against her desk. She said with a half-smile, "Class rep, I see your cheeks are flushed and your forehead is glowing. Good news. How about it? Treat us to dinner to celebrate Nianji's return from her illness, okay?" Mei Xiaowen twirled the car key in his hand as he stood by the door and said, "No problem, tonight's dinner is on me." But he turned to look at Gunyanji. "Nianji, shouldn't you go to the faculty to cancel your leave first?" Gunyanji buried her head in her bag and took out the medical certificate Chen Lai had given her. "I was just about to go. Let's go together. I need to go to the department student union office to take care of something." Mei Xiaowen was also the president of the Faculty of Law. He naturally placed his hand on Gunyanji's shoulder and wanted to pull her along. Gunyanji took a quick step forward to avoid his outstretched arm. "Class rep, I still have to go see a few professors to cancel my leave. I haven't gone to class for a week, they're definitely not happy." Mei Xiaowen smiled and caught up with her as they walked out together. The three roommates in the dormitory winked at each other and laughed. "Looks like our little sister 4 is about to be enlightened." Mei Xiaowen and Gunyanji left the dormitory building and Mei Xiaowen immediately said, "You don't have to go to the faculty to cancel your leave. Your family already did it for you." Gunyanji was taken aback. "Then why did class rep say I have to go to the faculty to cancel my leave? I'm just giving you an excuse. The most important thing for you right now is to go see Professor He and request an interview." Mei Xiaowen led her to his car, opened the door and let her in. He said, "I found out that Professor He lives in the specialist building on campus. I'll drive you there. Take the initiative to talk to him, show him your medical certificate and ask for another interview." Gunyanji hadn't expected to face He Jichu, the famous professor of law, as soon as she returned. She felt a bit nervous and clutched her medical certificate. She stammered, "Class rep, is Professor He easy to talk to?" "You're calling me class rep again. I wouldn't tell you even if I knew." Mei Xiaowen pretended to be annoyed and tilted his head to look at her. Gunyanji smiled fawningly. "Class rep, don't be so anxious. Well, I have to ask my family and get their opinion." "Sure, why don't you call him now?" Mei Xiaowen turned the steering wheel and backed out of the car. He urged her to hurry up and not give her a chance to brush him off. He was determined to win her over. Gunyanji held her phone and thought about it. "I'll try." She tried Hua Xiaoheng's phone first. It rang for a long time but no one picked up. She had no choice but to call Chen Lai. Chen Lai picked up her call right away. Before she could speak, Chen Lai asked anxiously, "Nianji? What's wrong? Are you not feeling well? Where are you? I'll come pick you up right now." Gunyanji immediately felt that Chen Lai's occupational disease was too serious. She only called him and he assumed she was sick. She shook her head. "I'm not feeling well. Brother Chen, are you all right? Not feeling well? That's good. That's good. So why are you looking for me?" Gunyanji could feel the relief in Chen Lai's voice even through the phone. She frowned slightly and covered the phone to face the car window. She stammered, "Brother Chen, it's like this. Do you know Uncle Hua's number?" Gunyanji originally wanted to tell Chen Lai that class rep wanted to pursue her, but she swallowed the words. She asked for Hua Xiaoheng's number instead. Chen Lai laughed heartily. "What's wrong? You need Hua Xiao for something? What is it? Do you need my help?" Hua Xiao went back to headquarters. "It's not easy to find him." "Oh." Gunyanji was slightly disappointed. She wanted to hang up but saw Mei Xiaowen looking at her again. She didn't want to brush him off right in front of his face. She took a deep breath and murmured, "Brother Chen, it's like this. My classmate said he wants to pursue me and asked if I was okay with it. I wanted to ask your opinion. If he wants to pursue me, then go ahead. Why do you need me to agree?" Chen Lai chuckled. He lowered his voice and asked, "Is it your class rep?" Gunyanji blinked and made an almost inaudible sound of agreement. "I see. It seems very important. After all, he's our Nianji's first boyfriend. You have to be careful. How about I ask Hua Xiao for you? He's your guardian after all." Gunyanji nodded. A thought flashed through her mind. She suddenly blurted it out, "Brother Chin, has Uncle Hua been busy with work lately?" "He's been all right. He was a bit busy a few days ago. He's just gotten some free time recently. What's up? Does he have a girlfriend?" Gunyanji asked nosily. The last time she received his call, he had asked her to call him uncle and forbade her from calling him Hua Xiao like everyone else. It was as if he wanted to avoid arousing suspicion. She recalled the phone call Hua Xiaoheng had made by mistake the other day. He had blurted out, "Darling." Gu Nianji's intuition told her that Hua Xiaoheng probably had a girlfriend. Well, I don't know. Qin Lai's round mouth opened and closed. Why do you ask? Chapter 33. Qin Lai's heart was itching to hear this. The pen in his hand spun noisily as he said, "Nianji, wait, I have to take a call first." He turned around and dialed Hua Xiaoheng's private military number. What is it? Hua Xiaoheng's deep voice came from the other end of the line. Qin Lai was grinning from ear to ear. Hua Xiao, do you have time to talk? It's about Nianji. Oh, hold on. Hua Xiaoheng looked at the room full of subordinates above the rank of lieutenant colonel and said to them, "I have to take a call. You guys continue." The room full of field officers who were in an important military meeting were so shocked their eyes almost popped out of the windows. Interrupting a high-level meeting like this to take a call, it must be extremely important? Did the Special Operations Forces cause big trouble in another country, or did they catch the CIA's most powerful spy in the empire? They were all in the intelligence business, so their thinking was very fast. It wasn't that Hua Xiaoheng didn't know what they were thinking, but there were priorities. At this time, any news about Gu Nianji was the most important. He walked out of the conference room expressionlessly and went to the small office next door to sit down. He opened the blinds and looked outside. Go ahead. Qin Lai was a bit surprised. You need something? If Hua Xiaoheng had something important, then Qin Lai felt he was being too rash. There was a limit to joking and he felt very uneasy. Nothing. Tell me what's wrong with Nianji. Hua Xiaoheng said as he called Zhao Liangzi over the internal line and asked him to send over his private civilian phone. He discovered that he had missed several of Nianji's calls. Qin Lai quickly said, "It's nothing serious. Nianji said she couldn't reach you on the phone, so she asked me to ask you if her class rep wants to pursue her." Hearing this, Hua Xiaoheng slammed his personal phone on the table and said unhappily, "Didn't I tell you already? You still have to ask me this kind of nonsense?" Don't be angry. Qin Lai raised his voice. Why don't you call Nianji when you're free? You know how obedient she is. If you frown, she'll reject you immediately. Hua Xiaoheng rejected her mercilessly. I still have a meeting. I don't have time. We'll talk about it later. As he spoke, he hung up his private military number and got up to return to the conference room to continue the meeting. Qin Lai switched his phone back to Gu Nianji and realized that she was still waiting for his call. He felt bad for her and could only comfort her. Nianji, Hua Xiao is in a meeting. I can't even reach him. I asked the operator to leave a message for him. He'll call you after the meeting. Gu Nianji looked ahead and saw that Mei Xiaowen had already parked the car. This was the specialist building of C University, where He Zhichu lived. She hurriedly said, "Uncle Hua is so busy, there's no need to disturb him. We'll talk about it later. I'm hanging up. Take care, Brother Qin." She hurriedly hung up the phone and spread her hands at Mei Xiaowen, who had turned his head to look at her. Class rep, you heard everything. It's not that I'm being pretentious, it's just that my family is too busy. Gu Nianji made a round of phone calls and waited for a long time, but she still couldn't speak to her guardian. In that instant, Mei Xiaowen thought of his own parents. They were also busy people of status, but no matter how busy they were, they would always answer his call as soon as possible. They never brushed him off or made him wait for so long. This was the difference between biological and non-biological. Mei Xiaowen looked at Gu Nianji with sympathy and pity. He didn't want to put her in a difficult position. His voice became even gentler. Okay, then we'll wait until your family agrees. Thank you for your understanding, Class Republic. Gu Nianji's impression of Mei Xiaowen improved by another level when she saw that he was being reasonable. They got out of the car and Mei Xiaowen led Gu Nianji to the specialist building. He introduced He Zhichu to her. He's a partner at the largest law firm in the United States at such a young age. He also has a Juris Doctor from Yale Law School and a tenured professor at Harvard Law School. He's got a lot of pride, but he's also a typical American person. He's focused on the situation and not the person. As long as you're reasonable and can convince him, he'll listen. Gu Nianji silently memorized everything Mei Xiaowen said and occasionally hummed to show that she was listening attentively. As Mei Xiaowen spoke, he brought Gu Nianji to the specialist building's elevator. He took out a card and swiped it to the 18th floor. As the elevator rose steadily, Gu Nianji looked at Mei Xiaowen. Class rep, you actually have a card for this place? The elevator in the specialist's building could only be used by people with access cards. Swiping one's own access card, one could go to the floor where one lived. If you wanted to go to another floor, You would need to obtain the faculty's approval and have the specialist building service staff take you there. The security was extremely strict. Gu Nianji had originally planned to find an opportunity to call Hijichu's apartment from the first floor, or wait here to see if she could bump into him coming downstairs or returning from outside. Mei Xiaowen put his hands in his trouser pockets and watched the elevator slowly rise. He smiled. Since I said I wanted to pursue you, of course I have to show my sincerity. If I can't even get an access card for this place, how can I let you accept my sincerity? Gu Nianji blushed. Thankfully, the elevator had already reached the 18th floor. The elevator doors opened and she walked out. She didn't have to continue the conversation. Mei Xiaowen followed her out and pointed to the innermost room on the left side of the corridor. Professor Hijichu lives there. You can call him from here. Every floor of the specialist building had a public phone that could be dialed with coins or cards. Mei Xiaowen walked up and personally dialed the number for her. Gu Nianji anxiously took the phone. It rang twice before someone picked up. Who is this? The man who picked up the phone had a clear and moving voice, but seemed a bit tired. There was a hint of huskiness in his voice. Gu Nianji's heart pounded. She quickly asked, "Is this Professor Hijichu?" "I'm Gu Nianji." The other end of the phone went silent. Even the faint breathing from before had disappeared. Gu Nianji waited in surprise for a while. She didn't hear the other person hang up. She had no choice but to bite the bullet. "Is this Professor Hijichu?" "I'm Gu Nianji. I applied to be your graduate student, but I suddenly fell ill and missed the interview. I want to ask..." Click. The other person actually hung up. Gu Nianji was dumbfounded. She patted the phone and said hello twice. Then she looked up at Mei Xiaowen. "Professor, he is the only one living in that room?" "Yes, he has a teaching assistant. She's a woman. She doesn't live in the same room as him." Mei Xiaowen had done his best for Gu Nianji. He knew more about Hijichu than Yin Shixiang. "Professor, he hung up on me." Gu Nianji pursed her lips. She refused to give up. "I want to call again. Just a heads up. This book is still short on words. Due to contract issues, it's been delayed for half a month. We'll be notified when it'll be available in July. Remember to save the monthly tickets for me, my dear friends." "Is zero? I'll definitely have to update for the monthly tickets." "Oh, intersection. Oh, I need a Weibo fan today." Sina Weibo, Writers Cambrian. Chapter 34. He hung up on you? You didn't say anything? Mei Xiaowen tilted his head to look at the room at the end of the hallway. Was it inconvenient because there were guests there? Gu Nianji frowned and also looked. "I don't know. He didn't say anything. He hung up the phone before I could finish." Hijichu was sitting on the single sofa in front of the French window in his room. He held a registration form in his hand and stared at the 1-inch square photo on the form for a while. He called his teaching assistant, Wen Shuyi, who lived next door. "Shuyi, come here for a second." When Shuyi closed her computer and combed her hair in the mirror before putting on high heels and walking out. As soon as she came out, she saw a young man and woman standing at the other end of the hallway. The man was tall and thin and elegant, while the woman was beautiful and slender. They were very pleasing to the eye when they stood together. She looked at them a few more times before knocking on Hijichu's door. "Come in." Gu Nianji stubbornly continued to call Hijichu's room. Hijichu didn't pick up immediately. He waited for the phone to ring for a full 15 minutes before pressing the speaker button. When Shuyi stood quietly behind Hijichu the entire time. She was like a fine backdrop. Gu Nianji's sweet voice sounded from the other end. "Is this Professor Hijichu? Sorry to disturb you, You know it's a bother yet you keep calling. Aren't you breaking the law knowingly? That's an additional crime." Hijichu's clear voice was crisp. Gu Nianji was stunned and almost forgot what she wanted to say. But she quickly composed herself and quickly said, "But you didn't pick up and didn't tell me if you were Professor Hijichu or not. How am I breaking the law knowingly? I didn't know, so I kept asking for confirmation. So it's my fault?" Hijichu's handsome brows raised slightly as if he had been offended, but there was no impatience on his face. Instead, there was a faint smile on his face. However, his smile was very faint. His shimmering, almond-shaped eyes flashed and the smile disappeared. "Of course it's not your fault." Gu Nianji sighed softly. As long as he didn't hang up on her, it would be a rare victory. She made a big V sign to Mei Xiaowen and smiled. She spoke glibly into the phone. "I can only say that it's a problem of communication, so we need to talk through multiple channels. Professor Hijichu, can you please give me another chance? It's true that I missed the last 2 interviews." Hijichu's expression softened when he heard Gunyenji mention the 2 interviews she had missed. He hated it when people were late, but not only had Gunyenji been late, but she had also been late twice. She had crossed the line. Hijichu sat on the sofa with one hand supporting his head and the other resting on the armrest. He said impatiently into the phone, "If you're late, you're late. If you miss it, you miss it. No matter what the reason is, it's your fault. You don't have to tell me. I don't want to hear it." Hijichu's merciless rejection infuriated Gunyenji. Her fingers twisted the phone cord, and her voice was hoarser than usual. "Professor Hijichu, you're Professor Hijichu, right?" "I am." "If you're Professor Hijichu, then let me ask you, why won't you listen to my reason for being late?" "Because this is my bottom line. Your actions have crossed the line," Hijichu said mercilessly. His eyes darkened and his shimmering almond-shaped eyes narrowed. When Shuyi, who was standing behind him, smiled. She knew Professor Hijichu's temper best. He had always been a man of his word. Even when he was at Harvard Law School, he had never given in to anyone when so many powerful people pleaded for him. This Gunyenji really had an exaggerated opinion of her own abilities. When Shuyi shook her head regretfully. However, Gunyenji on the other end of the line was even bolder than when Shuyi had imagined. She directly challenged Hijichu's bottom line. "Professor He, I respect your bottom line, but I want to ask you, does your bottom line conflict with your professional ethics?" "Huh. She's quite a talker." Hijichu couldn't help sitting up straight. He said with interest, "Of course my bottom line does not conflict with my professional ethics. Since you say there is no conflict, then I want to ask you, as a professor of the B University Faculty of Law, shouldn't you abide by the B University Faculty of Law's rules and regulations?" Hijichu was also an eloquent lawyer in court. How could a greenhorn like Gunyenji be his opponent? However, Hijichu didn't stop Gunyenji from continuing. He listened quietly. Gunyenji continued on the other end of the line. "I applied for the B University Faculty of Law's master's degree according to the rules. Although I was late twice, the B University Faculty of Law's rules state that if a candidate is late due to an uncontrollable factor, it is not the candidate's responsibility. The school will give the candidate another chance to retake the exam. And my sudden illness is an uncontrollable factor. How can people not get sick when they eat all kinds of food? I also have a medical certificate from an authoritative chief physician from the best hospital in the empire. No matter where this lawsuit goes, I'm not unreasonable." Gunyenji finished talking and waited for Hijichu to answer. Hijichu's lips curved into a smile, but he still said disapprovingly, "So what? You crossed the line that I can accept. I don't want to give you another chance. This is the question I asked earlier. Professor He, may I ask if your personal line conflicts with your professional ethics? As a professor of the B University Faculty of Law, your professional ethics is to abide by the B University and the B University Faculty of Law's rules. However, there is no rule in the B University Faculty of Law's rules that states that being late twice will disqualify you from the interview. This shows that your decision is to use your personal preferences to replace the school's rules. As a big shot in the legal world, you have no professional ethics to disregard the law and use your personal preferences to interfere with your work." Gunyenji didn't hesitate to question Hijichu's use of public power for personal gain. She even expressed doubts about his professional ethics. Did this girl have a death wish? When Shuyi covered her mouth in shock, she couldn't say a word. Hijichu nodded slowly and continued to lean on the sofa with his head propped up. The ends of his long and narrow eyes looked up as he said in a low, clear voice, "You've been rejected by me so many times, but you still persevere and look for opportunities. This kind of spirit of never giving up is indeed rare for a law student. When the authorities make things difficult for you, you don't succumb to them. Instead, you dare to question them and only respect the spirit of the law. This kind of unyielding perseverance is even rarer for a law student. Good Gunyenji, you didn't disappoint me this time. I'll give you another chance." This was simply a turning point, a glimmer of hope at the darkest hour. Gunyenji almost jumped with joy on the other end of the phone. She ignored the phone in her hand and beamed at Mei Xiaowen. Class rep. Class rep. Did you hear me? I got the chance for the interview. I'm looking for recommendation votes. Dear friends, have you prepared the guaranteed monthly tickets for next month? Oh, __intersection. Oh. Chapter 35. I told you it's yours, no one can take it away from you. You're the top student in our faculty. Mei Xiaowen said proudly and couldn't help but raise his hand to pat Gunyenji's head. Gunyenji was overjoyed and didn't mind being patted on the head. Her eyes curved into crescents as she smiled. Her dark red lips revealed 4 snow-white teeth, perfect and flawless. Hijichu's clear voice sounded over the phone. 8 o'clock tomorrow morning is your last chance. Gunyenji quickly nodded into the phone. No problem. No problem. I'll be there on time. She settled on the interview location with Hijichu before hanging up happily and leaving the specialist building with Mei Xiaowen. Mei Xiaowen didn't follow her when they returned to the female dormitory. He unbuckled her seatbelt and encouraged her, "Get ready, I'll pick you up for the interview tomorrow." "Don't bother, class representative, it's in the faculty conference room, I know the way." Gunyenji got out of the car and waved, "Bye, class republic." Gunyenji ran to her dormitory and pushed open the door yelling, "Green tea Fong, Lady Chow, little temptress. I'm back. Why are you so happy? Did you forget to take your medicine?" Green tea Fong smiled as she brought her a glass of water. "Here, take it warm, it's very effective." "Green tea Fong, you're getting prettier today. Come, give your little sister a kiss." Gunyenji moved her fair, tender face towards Green tea Fong. Green tea Fong pretended to kiss her and patted her cheek. "Okay, you better take care of things during the day, class rep is treating us to dinner tonight. Little Four, don't forget you're the star of the show today." They were all used to this in their dormitory, so the other 2 were used to it. One was sitting on the upper bunk bed munching on an apple, her long, slender legs dangling in the air, while the other was wearing headphones and walking to the balcony to memorize English. It was Lady Chow who walked to the balcony. She looked down and waved at the 3 people in the room. "Little Four, come quick, your boyfriend is still here." Tiske, the class leader's infatuation is too good at showing off. Tall and handsome, he's going to be popular. "Lady Chow, you're so uncultured. Don't use idioms for no reason." Little temptress draped her arm over Gunyenji's as they walked out. Green tea Fong followed behind to join in the fun. Downstairs, in the direction of the balcony, Mei Xiaowen leaned against his seemingly low-key Buick and looked down at his watch. "Lil, for you really should consider the class monitor. He has the body of a male model, the looks of a little fresh meat, the IQ of a famous university, and the family background of a rich second generation. Most importantly, he's good to you. Where else can I find such a man?" As soon as little temptress finished praising Mei Xiaowen, a girl in a snow-white wool dress walked up to Mei Xiaowen and presented him with an obviously hand-knitted scarf with both hands. F***CK. Was he trying to poach someone in front of them? Wasn't that Song Ryu the scheming bitch from class 2? How shameless. 3 of the 4 people watching the show were furious. Little temptress picked up an empty Coke can from the balcony and smashed it down, shouting, "Scheming teeth. Let go of the class monitor." Mei Xiaowen and Song Ryu looked up at the same time and saw the 4 people on the balcony of the 5th floor. Song Ryu had been humiliated in front of her crush. She ground her teeth in anger but didn't join in the scolding. Instead, she moved closer to Mei Xiaowen and said pitifully, "Xiaowen, I just like you. I don't mean anything else. We're graduating soon. If I don't say it out loud, I'll regret it for the rest of my life." Mei Xiaowen didn't say anything. He only smiled quietly and put his hands in his trouser pockets. He didn't take the scarf. Before long, 2 of the 4 people on the balcony came running down. Green tea Fong had always been the leader of their dorm, and little temptress had a sharp tongue. The 2 of them ran down and pointed at Song Ryu. "What's the meaning of this?" Song Ryu raised her head and said, not to be outdone, "I'm confessing to the class monitor." "Can't I?" "What's it got to do with you? He's not your boyfriend." "Song Ryu. He's not your class monitor. You're from class 2 and you're calling our class monitor so affectionately. Your class monitor has already fainted in the toilet." Little temptress pulled Song Ryu over. "Don't stand so close." "Is he close to you?" Song Ryu snuck a glance at Mei Xiaowen. Seeing that he was still calm and collected, she liked him even more. She turned to glare at little temptress and said angrily, "You damned ladyboy. Mei Xiaowen isn't your man. What are you fighting for?" "I know. Don't tell me you have a crush on your class monitor too?" Wang Junius' nickname was Little Temptress, but Song Ryu had deliberately called her a ladyboy to belittle her. Little Temptress was furious, but before she could speak, Green tea Fong had already shielded her behind her. She sneered at Song Ryu. "Everyone in the law faculty knows that class monitor Mei has a crush on someone. Are you really stupid or are you just pretending? You have the nerve to say that. Yes, class monitor Mei has a crush on someone. Isn't it that little orphan girl from your dorm? But she hasn't even said anything, so why are you fawning over her? You really are a scheming TC. You're going all out to steal someone's man." Green tea Fong hit where it hurt. Song Ryu flew into a rage. How much better are you than me? You green tea bitch. Green tea fong. So what if I'm a green tea bitch? I never steal someone's man, unlike you, a scheming B*TCH who only seduces other people's men. Green tea fong retorted, her posture as elegant as ever. Even if she was a green tea, she was a green tea who was protective of her own people. They didn't deliberately lower their voices, so even Gu Nianji and Lady Chow, who were on the balcony of the 5th floor, could hear them clearly. Gu Nianji buried her face in her hands and wailed, "Stop arguing, I still have to be a decent person. What are you afraid of? We're all about to graduate anyway, and many of us will probably never see each other again. It's good to take this opportunity to shed all pretense of cordiality. You've had enough of pretending to be a virtuous lady for 4 years." Lady Chow watched from the sidelines with relish. She pulled Gu Nianji back to her dorm. Song Ryu was put on the spot by Green Tea Fong's words. She didn't have a good relationship with her dorm mates, and had slept with all 3 of her roommates' ex-boyfriends. Because of this, she had no one to back her up. She had to fight on her own. Of course, she couldn't take on the 2 heavyweights of Class 1. Seeing the crowd grow larger and larger, she had no choice but to grit her teeth and shout at Mei Xiaowen, "Xiaowen, tell me, do you have a girlfriend? If you say yes, I'll disappear immediately. I'm not going to take the blame for stealing someone else's boyfriend." Mei Xiaowen slowly raised his head to look at Gu Nianji, who was standing on the balcony of the 5th floor. He said loudly, "Gu Nianji, will you be my girlfriend?" As he spoke, he suddenly opened the trunk and took out a large bouquet of bright red roses. He slowly knelt down on one knee in the direction of the balcony and raised the roses to her. "Be together. Be together. Be together." The onlookers, who wanted to see the world in chaos, completely let loose and clapped their hands in unison. "There will be an extra update at 6 p.m. Please recommend it. I'll let you know when it's going on sale, so save your monthly tickets for me." Chapter 36. Gu Nianji stood on the balcony on the 5th floor, unsure whether to laugh or cry. Mei Xiaowen had actually prepared a large bouquet of roses in the trunk of the car. This must have been premeditated. She wasn't particularly disgusted, she was just not used to it. Standing on the balcony, she felt the urge to bite her fingernails. Lady Chow, who was standing with her on the balcony, saw the situation and immediately pushed her back into the dorm. She waved at the rowdy crowd downstairs and yelled, "Class rep, you think you can win our Nianji's heart with a bouquet of roses? How insincere." Mei Xiaowen stood up from the floor and waved the roses. He smiled like an Olympic champion. "This is only the beginning, I'll keep working hard." For the first time, Song Ryu understood what it felt like to be angry. Mei Xiaowen had expressed his love for Gu Nianji in front of so many people. Even though Gu Nianji hadn't immediately agreed, the C students thought Mei Xiaowen was already taken. Little Temptress was grinning from ear to ear. She covered her face with one hand and held a microphone in front of Song Ryu with the other. Mimicking a reporter, she said, "Scheming bitch, is this your first time kicking an iron plate? How does it feel to be rejected even though you're offering yourself up? Tell the audience in detail." "Get out, stupid lady boy." Song Ryu shoved Little Temptress and ran back to the dorm with a whimper. Mei Xiaowen placed the roses in Green Tea Fong's hands and asked, "Give this to Nianji for me." "No problem. But don't forget dinner tonight, class rep." Green Tea Fong hugged the roses to her chest and smoothed her hair. As an experienced green tea user, she didn't have any ideas about the people around her, but it had become second nature for her to release her green tea skills. Everyone was used to it and basically ignored her when she released her green tea scent. However, Mei Xiaowen remembered that Gu Nianji had an interview early the next morning. It wouldn't be good if he stayed up too late tonight and affected her interview. He opened the car door and frowned at Green Tea Fong and Little Temptress. "Oh, I really can't today. I have family matters to attend to and just called to go home early. I already told Nianji. Tomorrow, I'll definitely treat you tomorrow." She took out her phone and said, "I'll book a table for tomorrow now." Green Tea Fong and Little Temptress exchanged glances, then turned to look at Mei Xiaowen. They drawled, somewhat displeased, "Class rep, we only agreed to help you pursue Nianji because you're sincere. You can't just brush her off." He had just agreed to treat her to dinner in the morning, but he changed his mind in the afternoon. Where was his sincerity? The small boat of friendship had yet to sublimate into a giant ship of love, and it would capsize at a whim. Mei Xiaowen quickly said, "I really have something to do. Nianji knows about it too. You can ask her later if you don't believe me." Mei Xiaowen planned to text Gu Nianji right away to communicate with her and smooth out the panic. "Really? Green Tifong looked at Little Temptress suspiciously, her eyes asking her, "Do you believe me?" Little Temptress shrugged. "I'll ask Nianji when I get back." Mei Xiaowen opened the reservation app on his phone and thought of something else. "Nianji, do you like local or out-of-town food?" Green Tifong stuffed the roses in her arms into Little Temptress's hands and told her to go up first. She said, "Nianji eats more local food." She was being subtle, but she was implying that Nianji's family circumstances meant that she had never been to a high-class restaurant. Mei Xiaowen's hand paused and a trace of tenderness crept into his heart. He wanted to dote on that girl. She was worthy of his devotion. "Then let's go to the Red House restaurant in the city." Mei Xiaowen searched for the Red House restaurant's reservation number and dialed it. The Red House restaurant was a long-established out-of-town restaurant in Sea City. It was all about taste and experience, and the food was said to be very authentic. Of course, the prices were ridiculously high. Green Tifong saw that Mei Xiaowen had booked a table for 6 at the Red House restaurant. The meal would cost at least tens of thousands of dollars. She snorted and said, "Class rep, let's make this clear. This is the last time we'll help you. As for the future, it's up to you. Nianji is still young, so don't play around. Our dorm is not to be trifled with. Nianji is lucky to have roommates like you. My relationship with her is, of course, based on marriage." Mei Xiaowen got into the car and stuck his head out as he spoke solemnly. It was also because they had known Mei Xiaowen's background for the past 4 years and knew he was a good person that they had agreed to help him this once. Green Tifong turned to go upstairs. Mei Xiaowen quickly texted Gu Nianji, "Rest well tonight. I'll pick you up for the interview tomorrow morning. I'll say something's going on at home, so I'll push the dinner date to tomorrow. Don't slip up and don't tell anyone about the interview tomorrow. It won't be too late to talk about it when we get the acceptance letter." Until they reached that step, there would always be variables. In the past, Gu Nianji would have thought that Mei Xiaowen was making a mountain out of a molehill. But after what had happened with Feng Yishi, Gu Nianji felt that it was better to be more careful. Although she felt that her 3 roommates were different from Feng Yishi, tomorrow was her last chance. She really didn't want to complicate things. She would treat them to dinner after the interview as an apology. So when Little Temptress came back to ask her about it, she said calmly, "Class rep told me something's going on at home today. Something's really going on?" Little Temptress pursed her lips and pulled Gu Nianji to sit down. She said earnestly, "Nianji, since you seem to have a good impression of Mei Xiaowen, I have to remind you that men are despicable. If you don't treat them too well, you have to keep them in suspense. Don't give them your all just because they're nice to you." Gu Nianji sweated profusely as she listened. She touched Little Temptress's forehead. "Little Temptress, what's gotten into you? You even dare to say that all men are cheap? I say, if you don't listen to your elders, you'll get the short end of the stick. You're Little Temptress. I've met countless men, and now that I've become a demon, I can tell when those men are cocky." Little Temptress poked Gu Nianji's forehead. Gu Nianji joked with her for a bit, then changed the subject. She took out some snacks to share with them, then changed her clothes and lay down on the bed to rest. She woke up early in the morning and rushed to school. She hadn't slept well the night before, so she needed to make up for it. The 3 people in the dorm saw that she had fallen asleep, so they didn't disturb her. They packed up and went to do their own things. Gu Nianji slept alone in the dorm until evening, when she was awakened by the rough voice of the building manager on the dorm's intercom. 518 Gu Nianji, someone's looking for you. Gu Nianji quickly got out of bed and tied her hair into a random ponytail before heading downstairs. A small, exquisite, out-of-print beetle was parked in the open space in front of the building. A virtuous woman in a gray suit stood beside the car. Her skin was snow white, her face was like a silver plate, her eyebrows were thin, her mouth was small, and her figure was voluptuous. She smiled at Gu Nianji. "You're Gu Nianji? I'm Wuxia, Professor Hijichu's assistant. I'm looking for recommendation votes. It'll go on sale in a few days, then I'll be able to vote." Chapter 37. Professor Hijichu's assistant? Gu Nianji's heart sank. Did something happen with Professor He? She had just confirmed the interview with Professor Hijichu this morning. Could something have happened before it was even night time? "Are you free? Let's go get a drink." When Shui asked gently and didn't directly answer Gu Nianji's question. Her eyes were soft and gentle, full of concern when she looked at Gu Nianji. She turned to open the car door and invited her in. Gu Nianji narrowed her eyes at Wen Shui and remembered seeing this woman this morning. When she had called Hijichu, this woman had come out from the room next door and knocked on the door. Mei Xiaowen had also told her that Hijichu had an assistant. This was the woman? Why did she come to find him? Gu Nianji's top priority now was the interview at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. She didn't want anything to affect her mood. Assistant Wen, if you have something to say, please say it now. I have an interview tomorrow and would like to study tonight. Gu Nianji politely declined. She actually had an interview early in the morning, and as a straight-A student, she didn't need to study tonight. When Shuyi looked at her in surprise and smiled, "But what I want to talk to you about is closely related to your interview tomorrow." "Really? Then Professor He asked you to come?" Gu Nianji took out her phone and was about to call He Jichu's room number. "Let me confirm it first." When Shuyi quickly stopped her with a wry smile, "Girl, why are you so wary? I'm trying to persuade you out of goodwill. Do you think I'm trying to harm you?" Gu Nianji's fingers discreetly slid over her phone and she smiled innocently. "Why would you say that, Assistant One? We don't know each other, why would you want to harm me? I would never have such an unimaginable thought." "Then you don't want to go for a drink with me and you're calling Professor He, aren't you being cautious of me?" When Shuyi sighed and shook her head at Gu Nianji, "It's useless, no matter how hard you try, it's useless." The last thing Gu Nianji needed was someone to destroy her last hope. Her face darkened and she said dryly, "I'm a stubborn person, I've never looked back until I hit the wall. So, even if it's useless, it's not too late to wait until I hit the wall first. But I liked you the moment I saw you. I didn't want you to be hurt like this." When Shuyi's voice was even more regretful. "Nianji, can I call you Nianji?" Gu Nianji raised her hand. "Go ahead. Nianji, you are outstanding, very outstanding. No matter how you look at it, you will become the most outstanding female lawyer. You will also have a great future in the future." "Thank you, I think so too," Gu Nianji said confidently, but she was actually trying to figure out what Wen Shuyi meant. "You're quite confident." Wen Shuyi smiled. "But do you know what? You've completely offended Professor He. I've been by his side for so many years, but I've never seen him be contradicted like this. I'm here today to remind you that when a person has a preconceived prejudice against you, no matter how hard you try, you won't be able to get rid of that person's bad impression of you. Under this kind of person, even if you get the opportunity to enter the school, you will have no future to speak of. Why do you have to hang your head against a tree?" Gu Nianji frowned. She didn't like Wen Shuyi's words about hanging her head against a tree. She gripped her phone and crossed her arms across her chest. She said calmly, "Are you saying that Professor He is a hypocrite, teaching assistant one? A two-faced person? One thing to his face and another behind his back? What did I say that caused you to misunderstand me like this?" Wen Shuyi's expression changed abruptly, as if she had been slapped in the face. "Professor He is a righteous and upright person. How is this hypocrisy? If Professor He is righteous and not a two-faced person, then I don't understand why you're here to say this to me. I'm trying to advise you not to get into a dead end. Don't just stick to Professor He. You've offended him and made him very unhappy. You won't have any future to speak of if you follow him. If you don't believe me, you can ask your fellow graduate students. Which of those who offend their professors end up well?" Gu Nianji chuckled. She began to tap her feet. "At the end of the day, you're still implying that Professor He is a narrow-minded, petty person. I don't know what I've done to deserve teaching assistant Wen's favor. You're even willing to defame your own employer for the sake of my future. At the end of the day, you just don't believe me?" When Shuyi stared at her with rapt attention. Her hand slid across her phone, and the expression on her face was one of pain and resentment. "You have no reason to convince me," Gu Nianji said without hesitation. "You've been with Professor He Jichu for the longest time. You're the closest to him, but you don't protect his image in front of outsiders. Instead, you insinuate that he has a bad character. We've only met by chance, but you act like you're worried about my future. Teaching assistant one, please forgive my lack of imagination, but I really can't think of a reason for you to do this. If that's the case, then I won't say anything more. I really can't bear to see a promising talent like you ruin your future like this." When Shuyi returned to her car. "It's fine if you don't want to go. That's all I have to say." She started her car and drove away slowly. Gu Nianji stared at the back of the Beetle. She snorted, "Ridiculous." Then she went upstairs. The other 3 people in the dorm only came back when lights were about to go out. Green Tifang had gotten into the Imperial Capital's University of Political Science and Law as a postgraduate student. She was trying to get close to a senior there. Lady Chow had entered the largest law firm in the city and was preparing for her lawyer's license. Little Temptress was also going to the Imperial Capital, but she was going back to work in the legal department of her family business. Graduation was approaching, so everyone was busy. The dorm chatted for a while, then went to shower and get ready to go to bed. Gu Nianji fiddled with her phone on her bed. She had come up with 70 or 80 reasons for Wen Shuyi's sudden visit today, but none of them convinced her. Fortunately, she'd been extra careful today. She'd secretly recorded their conversation and saved it on her phone. To be on the safe side, she'd also uploaded a copy to her computer in Fengya Apartments. Wen Shuyi, who had been tossed and turned by Gu Nianji, was sitting in her room. She also turned on her phone and transferred the recording of her conversation with Gu Nianji to her computer, because she had also recorded a copy. The recording of the conversation was played on Wen Shuyi's laptop. Wen Shuyi sat on the sofa and listened intently to the conversation. She shook her head slightly and lowered her eyes. She sighed softly. Everything would have to wait until tomorrow morning. There will be an extra update at 6 p.m. Asking for recommendation votes. I'll say it again. You guys must save the monthly votes for me. Oh, __. Oh. Chapter 38. No matter how Gu Nianji told herself to ignore teaching assistant Wen's words, her mood was inevitably affected. She tossed and turned in bed, unable to fall asleep. Afraid that she would miss tomorrow's interview, she looked at her phone several times to check her alarm, afraid that she would forget. If she was late again the next day, she knew that she would never have another chance. Eventually, she forced herself to count sheep and finally fell asleep after counting a few hundred. But after she fell asleep, she had another dream. The same clear blue sky was filled with white clouds, the sun was shining and the wind was blowing gently. Then a blood-red MH210 suddenly flew out of the clouds. The next moment she was already in the burning car. She turned her head in the car and looked back. Something had smashed a large hole in the rear window, and dark brown glass shards were splattered everywhere. Looking out through the hole, she could only see the fire and thick smoke. The scene behind her was blurry. She could vaguely see a man screaming and lunging towards her, but then he was held back by several people. She widened her eyes, trying to see what was going on, but suddenly, a thick cloud of smoke came over, and her eyes were filled with tears. She quickly blinked, and when she looked again, the fire at the rear window was getting bigger. Tongues of flame rolled over, and the thick smoke almost suffocated her. The scene behind her was completely obscured. When she turned around again, she saw Hua Xiaoheng pull the door open with a tense expression and rush into the car to rescue her. The burning pain of the tongues of flame on her skin woke her up from her dream, and she sat up straight. She unlocked her phone to look at the time. It was only 3 in the morning. The dorm was very dark and quiet. She could only hear the light breathing of her roommates. Her bed was at the bottom of the bunk by the window, and a yellow glow seeped in through the curtains. The night was warm and soft, and it was the light from the street lamps next to the dorm. She rubbed her temples as she thought about the dream she had just had. There was a little more. This time there was another man who seemed to have a close relationship with her. Unfortunately, the scene was too blurry and she couldn't see what he looked like. Was it her father? That was because that person looked like he was about to go crazy when he rushed over. Sigh, when would she remember what happened before the car accident? Mom and Dad, where are you? I really miss you guys. Thinking of her parents, Gu Nianji's somewhat anxious state of mind gradually calmed down. No matter who they were, they must have loved her dearly. With a smile on her lips, she slowly lay back down and fell asleep. When she woke up again, she was woken up by the phone alarm next to her pillow. As soon as the alarm rang, she cut it off reflexively and got up in a hurry. At 7 o'clock in the morning, the other 3 people in the dormitory were still sleeping soundly. No one heard her phone alarm. Gu Nianji put on the dress and went to the bathroom to wash up. She combed her hair and finished her skincare routine before picking up her backpack and heading downstairs. Mei Xiaowen was already waiting in the car opposite the dormitory. Seeing her walk out of the dormitory, Mei Xiaowen hurriedly opened the car door and got out. Nianji, have you had breakfast? Gu Nianji shook her head. It's not too late to eat after the interview. The interview would end at 8 o'clock, at most by 9 o'clock. They would have breakfast then. Mei Xiaowen seemed to already know what she would do. After she got in the car, he smiled and handed her a cardboard box. Eat fresh soy milk and Xilong Bao to fill your stomach first. Such thoughtfulness was hard to refuse. Gu Nianji blushed as she accepted the box and quietly said thank you before taking small bites. Gu Nianji had just finished eating when she arrived at the law faculty's office building. Mei Xiaowen handed her a bottle of mineral water and a pack of chewing gum. Gu Nianji unscrewed the cap and rinsed her mouth, then chewed a few times to get rid of the taste of food in her mouth. It was only 7:45 when she got out of the car and entered the building. At 7:50 she was already waiting at the door of the interview room. At 7:55, a young man wearing a dark blue fine wool three-piece suit and a moon-white checkered tie walked over from the other end of the corridor at an unhurried pace. He was tall, with broad shoulders and a narrow waist. The three-piece suit looked very imposing. With one hand in his trouser pocket and the other holding a folder, he elegantly stood in front of Gu Nianji and asked coldly, "You're Gu Nianji?" Hijichu's skin was fair, a lock of black hair resting on his forehead, accentuating his shimmering almond-shaped eyes. They were like deep pools of starlight. When he blinked occasionally, the pool of starlight would ripple and drown a person. His handsome and exquisite nose and thin, tightly pursed lips made his face look a little cold, which was a sharp contrast to his amorous, almond-shaped eyes. It was full of a paradoxical charm. Gu Nianji quickly stood up. "You're Professor Hijichu?" She had seen Hijichu's photo on Harvard Law School's website, so now that she saw him in person, she immediately recognized him. "I am. Come in." Hijichu nodded calmly and pushed open the door to the conference room. He walked in first. His voice was much better than it had been on the phone yesterday, mainly because it wasn't hoarse anymore. Gu Nianji followed him in and closed the door behind her. "Sit, make yourself at home, it's just a casual chat." Hijichu sat at the oval conference table by the window and pointed to the seat across from him for Gu Nianji to sit. For the interview, Gu Nianji had purposely changed into a smoky gray wool suit dress and high heels. It accentuated her slender and graceful figure. Most importantly, it made her look more mature. She was too young and didn't want people to look down on her because of it. Hijichu opened his current folder and saw it was filled with Gu Nianji's materials. Her application form, exam results, resume, and a personal statement were all necessary for the application. "Tell me first, why did you apply to be my graduate student?" Hijichu looked up at her. This question was so simple, it was practically a standard interview question. Gu Nianji was already prepared. She first expressed her admiration for Hijichu and complimented him on his great achievements, then changed the topic. "Professor, he is so young and so promising, but he only taught PhD students in the past and never master's students. I was quite disappointed, but when I finished my postgraduate exams this year and filled in my application form, I discovered that you were actually recruiting master's students this year. I was overjoyed and immediately signed up for your specialization." Hijichu smiled slightly and lowered his head to write a few sentences on Gu Nianji's materials. He then flipped through Gu Nianji's resume and asked, "You passed the Imperial Special Talent Assessment at 15 and reached the standard of a third-year student. Based on your results, you could have easily gone to the B University Faculty of Law. Why did you choose C University?" Chapter 39. Hearing Hijichu's question, Gu Nianji almost broke out in a waterfall of sweat. She thought to herself, Hijichu was a great lawyer indeed. Her classmates thought she had transferred to C University, but she had actually passed the special exam from the Imperial Army with Hua Xiaoheng's help and obtained direct admission to any university in the empire. Choosing C University was a complete coincidence. When she was choosing schools, she overheard Hua Xiaoheng talking to his two personal secretaries, Yin Shixiang and Zhao Liangzi. He said that C City had a Special Operations Forces base, but not the capital. If Gu Nianji had chosen B University in the capital, then Hua Xiaoheng wouldn't be able to be by her side. Yin Shixiang would have to take care of her. Therefore, she had chosen C City's C University Faculty of Law without hesitation. Now that she was about to graduate, she heard that Hua Xiaoheng was going to set up a headquarters in the empire's capital. Only then did she boldly fill in as a postgraduate in B University Faculty of Law. So deep down, she was still the little girl who had lost her memory in the burning car. She couldn't live alone without Hua Xiaoheng. Ever since the car accident 6 years ago, her sense of security had never been complete. She could only live with peace of mind wherever Hua Xiaoheng was. But she couldn't tell Hijichu or Hua Xiaoheng. They were all secrets buried deep in her heart. Moreover, Hua Xiaoheng's situation had to be kept a secret. Gu Nianji lowered her head and supported herself on the table. She said carefully, "Because C University is close to home. I was young and didn't want to be too far away." "Gu Nianji, where are you from? Where did you grow up?" Hijichu closed the folder and leaned back on the soft chair. He asked casually. His shimmering, sultry eyes were slightly raised as he looked at her with a hint of coolness. Gu Nianji couldn't remember anything before she was 12. She had lost her memory and her car had been reduced to ashes. No one had seen the license plate number. She was only carrying a small backpack with a photo and a data chart in it. The little girl in the photo was Gu Nianji. On the back of the photo was written, Gu Nianji's 11th birthday. There was a date below. It was from a year ago. Logically speaking, it shouldn't be difficult to find her parents and family, but the strange thing was that even with the immense power of the Empire's military, they couldn't find out where she came from. This was also one of the reasons why the Empire's military decided to make Hu Xiaoheng her guardian. They were used to controlling uncertainties in their own hands. Because of this, for the sake of confidentiality, when Gu Nianji enrolled at C University, they had already prepared a resume for her, which was the content of her resume. Gu Nianji calmly explained the contents of her resume in a different way. These experiences had long been arranged. There were witnesses and material evidence, so there was no need to be afraid of others investigating. The Imperial Army Special Operations Forces falsified countless identities every day, so they were already very familiar with this kind of thing. He Zhichu nodded slightly. Your parents passed away when you were 3 years old? Did you grow up with distant relatives? Yes, they are very good to me. Gu Nianji intentionally didn't mention it and changed the topic to He Zhichu. She asked with particular interest, Professor He, you have a bright future in the United States. Why did you return to the Empire's university to be a professor? He Zhichu looked up, his expression even colder. He seemed to have seen through Gu Nianji's intentions, but he didn't expose her. His slender fingers tapped on the table as he reminded her, now is the time for me to ask questions. It's not yet time for you to ask questions. Gu Nianji said. Then please continue. He Zhichu asked her a few more professional questions. This time he asked in English mixed in with the Latin often used in American law. Gu Nianji answered fluently. Her accent was very pure British, as if she had grown up in the British Isles. He Zhichu was slightly surprised. The corners of his long and narrow eyes twitched, and his eyes sparkled. I didn't expect your English to be so good. So do you plan to further your studies abroad or stay in the Empire? Gu Nianji rested her chin on her hand and thought about it. She answered honestly, I haven't thought about that yet. She had to discuss her future and fate with Hu Xiaoheng before making a decision. She really did want to study abroad and see the outside world, but if Hu Xiaoheng wasn't by her side, she was afraid she would go crazy from fear. But she also knew that she couldn't rely on Hu Xiaoheng forever. She was also learning to escape the shadow of her past and learn to live on her own. But she wasn't in a hurry. It wouldn't be too late to become independent when she was 20. He Zhichu didn't ask any more questions. He closed the folder and said to Gu Nianji coolly, no matter what, you've been late twice. You've already missed the fall admissions deadline. Gu Nianji's heart clenched. She had worked so hard for so long. Was it still not enough? But I'm also recruiting for the spring class. Are you willing to enroll next spring? He Zhichu was very good at keeping people in suspense. One sentence sent Gu Nianji's mood to hell, and another sentence sent her to heaven. Spring class? Sure. Next spring, right? Is that an official admission? Of course. He Zhichu extended his hand to Gu Nianji. Welcome to our team. From now on you'll be He Zhichu's only master's student. Gu Nianji hadn't expected He Zhichu to accept her on the spot. She was pleasantly surprised and quickly extended her hand to shake He Zhichu's, then quickly let go. He Zhichu's palm was very cold. It matched his calm expression perfectly. It made you feel like this kind of person was just like that. It wasn't right for him to have a pair of warm hands. Professor, he really wants me? Gu Nianji's large eyes curved into 2 crescent moons. She was so happy she almost cried. Yesterday your teaching assistant came to see me and persuaded me to give up the interview. She also said that I wouldn't have a bright future if I followed Professor He. I'm a timid person. I didn't have a father or mother since I was young, and I don't have any support. Her words scared me so much that I couldn't sleep all night. He Zhichu paused. He looked up at Gu Nianji, his dark eyes fixed on her. What did you say? My teaching assistant came to see you yesterday? And persuaded you to give up the interview? I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Gu Nianji pretended to be upset. She bowed repeatedly, but she was actually secretly revealing all the things Wen Shui had said about her. She was petty and wouldn't take it lying down. She also wouldn't be the kind of dumb Virgin Mary who said, I'm the greatest when I've been wronged. He Zhichu didn't seem to expect this at all. He leaned back on the large sofa in the conference room. After a while, he nodded and asked, My teaching assistant? Who is it? There will be an additional update at 6 p.m. Seeking recommendation votes. Oh, _intersection. Oh. Chapter 40. She said her name was Wuxia. Gunyanji looked closely at Hijichu's expression and saw that his dark eyes were calm, but his aura was a bit colder. She immediately chuckled and said, Professor He, maybe she's doing this for my own good? Don't be angry. He paused and said half sarcastically, maybe she knows that I can't stand being goaded, so she's trying to provoke me at the last minute so that I can perform better. Look, didn't I perform well today? You're going to give me an acceptance letter, right? Hijichu slowly put away the folder and stood up to look at Gunyanji. He said in a businesslike tone, You're good at expressing yourself. Keep it up and strive to be a defense lawyer in court. As he walked out, he took out his phone and sent a message. He then entered Gunyanji's name on the B University School of Law's admissions website and confirmed it before showing it to Gunyanji. You can check your email, the acceptance letter should have been sent automatically. You should receive the paper acceptance letter in 3 days. Call me if you don't get it. Gunyanji quickly took out her phone to check her email. As expected, an acceptance letter from the B University School of Law admissions office was already sitting in her email. With this, Gunyanji finally let out a deep sigh of relief. The weight on her chest had finally been lifted. She almost immediately forwarded the acceptance letter to Yin Shixiang and Chen Lai. She didn't forward it to Hua Xiaoheng because he didn't have a personal email. He never checked his work email. His personal secretary Zhao Liangze took care of it for him, so Gunyanji didn't have to trouble herself. Thank you, Professor He. I'll be counting on you in the future. Gunyanji bowed to Hijichu again to thank him. I hope Professor He is magnanimous and forgets that I was late for the last 2 interviews. Hijichu was still texting on his phone as he replied impassively, If I really didn't want you, all I had to do was make you fail the interview. Why would I go through the trouble of giving you a special spot for spring admission? I don't have the time to make things difficult for you. Gunyanji made a face behind Hijichu's back and giggled. I knew Professor He wasn't a narrow-minded, two-faced person. That's why I came to the interview with great psychological pressure. Luckily I won the bet. Hijichu stopped in his tracks and turned to look at her. His dark brows furrowed. Don't overthink things. Then he changed the topic. You have more than half a year from this summer's graduation to next spring's enrollment. What are your plans? Gunyanji shook her head. I haven't thought about it yet. I have to go back and discuss it with my family. You're very obedient to your family? Hijichu keenly noticed this fact. The best lawyers are half psychologists. Gunyanji spread her hands and smiled. I'm still young. I'm not even 18 yet. Of course I have to listen to my family. They won't harm me. Hijichu didn't say anything else. He lowered his head and dialed a number. Gunyanji's phone immediately rang. Just as she was about to answer, the other party hung up again. Hijichu raised his phone. That's my number. Save it for me. If you don't have anything else to do, you can start helping me with cases during the summer break. Gunyanji was overjoyed. She quickly saved Hijichu's number. I'll be sure to contact Professor He when the time comes. Hijichu waved at her to let her go first. He walked to the small office next door and sat down. Soon after, when Shui arrived, she asked gently, Professor He, you were looking for me? Hijichu pushed the folder beside him to Wenshui. I've accepted Gunyanji. Finished the paperwork for her. Wenshui was shocked. Professor He, you've really accepted her? But not only had she been late twice, but she'd also talked back to Hijichu. Based on Wenshui's understanding of Hijichu over the years, she'd already crossed his bottom line. Business is business. Personal is personal. Don't think too much about it. Hijichu lit a cigarette. His peach blossom eyes sparkled as he looked at Wenshui. He didn't ask her, but Wenshui knew Gunyanji must have complained. Wenshui smiled helplessly. She played the conversation she'd recorded yesterday to Hijichu. That's it. I was being kind. I didn't want Professor He to worry about you in the future. I also didn't want this little girl's future to be ruined because of this. I didn't expect this little girl to be so sharp-tongued. She's especially good at twisting people's words. I'm almost embarrassed by her. When Shui spoke softly as she opened the folder Hijichu had handed to her. She sorted out the documents and reorganized them. Hijichu blew out a bright white smoke ring. His dark eyes darkened. He stared at the door for a while. He didn't say anything until the recording ended. When Shui sat across from Hijichu, she looked up at him and smiled. The morning sun was cut into strands by the blinds in the small office. It reflected on her, half bright and half dark. Hijichu smoked his cigarette. His gaze returned to Wenshui's face. He seemed to be immersed in a distant memory. The one Shuyi in front of him had a slightly plump figure, thin eyebrows, a small mouth, a straight and slender nose and slightly upturned phoenix eyes, which were somewhat similar to his peach blossom eyes, but more slender. She looked like a lady who had walked out of an ancient painting, plump and round, with a delicate charm after the wind and waves had calmed down. Hijichu stubbed out his cigarette in the ashtray. Is there anything else? When Shuyi relaxed, she took out her phone to look at her electronic notepad. She said calmly, someone sent in a list today. Someone in C City is hiring Professor He to be their defense lawyer at a high price. Hijichu was not only a partner in a major American law firm. He also had an imperial lawyer's license. He had his own law firm in the imperial capital. Who is it? To be able to hire Hijichu as a defense lawyer, one not only had to be rich, but they also had to have enough trouble. This family has a bit of a history with you. When Shuyi took out a document from her handbag. Do you still remember the student you interviewed for the first time, Feng Ishi? Hijichu took the document and glanced at it. Didn't Feng Ishi violate the school rules and get expelled? The Fengs? What happened to them? Feng Ishi violated the school rules. Not only was she expelled, but she's also now sentenced. She'll have to go through a year of labor. When Shuyi said regretfully, this student is the real pity. I don't know what kind of person she messed with. She's been messed with so badly. Shuyi, you're also a lawyer. I can fire you immediately for using such unprofessional language. Hijichu pushed the document back. I don't want to make a fool of myself when someone who follows me says such things. I'm looking for more recommendation votes. I'm reminding you again to save your monthly votes for me. I'm communicating with the editor to confirm the release date. Chapter 41. When Shuyi's heart skipped a beat, she knew she had touched Hijichu's bottom line. She regretted what she had done with Gunyenji, but Hijichu hadn't said a word to her after listening to the recording. She thought she had gotten away with it, but it turned out Hijichu was just hiding it and waiting for her. That made sense. How could someone like Hijichu let others see through his true intentions? If he wanted to mess with someone, he wouldn't let anyone see the real reason. 2 years ago, he had become a partner at the largest law firm in the United States at the age of 26, and not just because of his superb legal skills. Professor He, I was wrong. When Shuyi quickly stood up, but are you going to take this job or not? No. Hijichu stood up impatiently. What kind of messed up case is this? Assistant Wen, is it because you've been too tired lately that your work has deteriorated? Do you want me to give you a long vacation or resign and be done with it? I can find another teaching assistant. When Shuyi's calm expression was swept away, she was suddenly panicking. She had never imagined Hijichu would actually send her away. Professor He, please forgive me this once, on account of my years of loyalty to you? Tears welled up in Wen Shuyi's eyes. She was on the verge of kneeling before Hijichu. Her previous gentle composure was gone, her face was full of panic, her whole body trembling, her plump lips trembling. Hijichu looked at her quietly for a while, then reached out and brushed his cool fingertips over her face, wiping away a few tears. His voice was clear and slow. Okay. But there won't be a next time. With that he turned to leave. When Shuyi sighed deeply, her legs were so weak she could barely stand. She quickly braced herself against the corner of the desk. She reached out to touch the spot on her face where Hijichu had wiped away her tears, warning herself not to make any more mistakes. She knew better than anyone else how cold-blooded Hijichu was. Gu Nianji happily walked out of the Faculty of Law building and rushed to Mei Xiaowen, who was waiting for her under the car shed nearby. She showed him the acceptance email she had received on her phone. Professor, he has accepted me. On the spot. Mei Xiaowen laughed and looked at the email on her phone. It really is an acceptance letter from the B University Faculty of Law Graduate School of Law. Congratulations, Nianji. Mei Xiaowen took the opportunity to hold Gu Nianji's hand, then wrapped his arm around her shoulder and pulled her into the car. Although Gu Nianji was a bit uncomfortable, Mei Xiaowen let go of her as soon as they were in the car. He had a good sense of propriety, but when he reached over her to fasten her seatbelt, Gu Nianji quickly pushed his hand away. I'll do it myself. Mei Xiaowen didn't insist. He started the car and drove to the dormitory area, smiling as he said, I just so happen to have booked a sumptuous hotel dinner today. We'll go out tonight to celebrate your success in the postgraduate entrance exam. Gu Nianji smiled and nodded. Thank you, class rep. As she spoke, Gu Nianji's phone rang. It was Yin Shixiang. He laughed heartily and congratulated Gu Nianji over the phone. He also said, Wuxia will be very happy to know. I've already passed the news to him. Thank you, Brother Xiong. Gu Nianji smiled. As soon as she ended the call with Yin Shixiang, a text from Chen Lai came in. Congratulations, Nianji. When you get back, Brother Chen will take you to celebrate. Brother Chen will keep his word. I'll remember that. Gu Nianji replied. Chen Lai immediately followed up with a text. Of course, when has Brother Chen ever gone back on his word? Alright, are you going back to the apartment this weekend? Gu Nianji sent a question mark. Because Hua Xiaoheng wasn't in Sea City, Gu Nianji didn't want to go back to the apartment. Chen Lai texted, you still need to have a checkup every week for at least a month. Oh, got it. I'll go back this weekend. Gu Nianji felt that Chen Lai was making a big deal out of nothing. She didn't feel any discomfort, nor did she have any feelings for men. She didn't know why Chen Lai kept checking like he was facing a formidable enemy. She pouted and put her phone away. She began chatting with Mei Xiaowen. Class rep, aren't you going to take the postgraduate entrance exam? Mei Xiaowen shook his head. He took out the Greek yogurt he had prepared for Gu Nianji and handed it to her. My family wants me to go back and help them. I passed my law exam, so I'll be able to practice law after a year of internship. The Mei family's business was mainly in Sea City. This meant that he would be staying in Sea City after graduation. And Gu Nianji would be going to the imperial capital next spring for her postgraduate studies. Wouldn't that mean they would have to split up? Mei Xiaowen seemed to know what Gu Nianji was thinking. He smiled. My family is going to the imperial capital to expand our family business. When you go there, I'll ask my family to send me there. She could also study with her sweetheart. What a considerate class rep, Gu Nianji blushed. She turned her head awkwardly to look out the window, but the corners of her lips curled up. Mei Xiaowen's car had just stopped outside Gu Nianji's dorm when his phone beeped. There was a text message. Weinan? Class rep, I haven't been feeling well lately. Sob 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 sob. Class rep, I want a hug and comfort. Mei Xiaowen glanced at it and quickly answered the call. His voice was relaxed. Weinan, you're such a tomboy. I didn't know you'd act like a little girl. Tell me what's up. Something happened to my family. Class rep, can you lend me some money? I'll pay you back as soon as the money from my dad's business comes through. No problem. Tell me, how much do you need? 150,000 will be fine. It's to pay off the bank interest. I just need to last a week. 150,000? Okay, give me your bank account number. I'll transfer it to you. Mei Xiaowen didn't say anything else. He unlocked his phone and looked at the balance in his bank account. The other party sent him a string of bank account numbers. Mei Xiaowen swiped his finger and transferred 150,000 to the other party. Thank you, class rep. A woman's bright and clear laughter came from the other end. She was very happy. Mei Xiaowen hung up and saw Gu Nianji looking at him in confusion. He took the initiative to explain. It's my high school classmate. Something happened to her family, so she asked me to borrow some money. Gu Nianji opened the car door and got out. She was shocked that Mei Xiaowen would borrow such a large sum of money without hesitation. Is it really your classmate? It's not a phone scam, is it? She had seen this kind of thing happen a lot on the internet. Mei Xiaowen smiled and patted her head. Nianji, are you worried about me? Gu Nianji rolled her eyes at him. I'm worried that you've really been scammed. Our dinner tonight is ruined again. She paused. How about I pay the bill tonight? I want to treat the girls in the dorm anyway. There will be an update at 6 p.m. Asking for recommendation votes. Stop nagging and save your monthly ticket for me. Oh, __intersection. Oh. Chapter 42. You're underestimating me. It's only 150,000, it's not like I can't afford to pay her. Mei Xiaowen smiled and hugged Gu Nianji to his chest. He explained patiently, don't worry. Ai Weinan is my high school classmate. We know each other and our families know each other. Who's worried about you? Gu Nianji felt uncomfortable and tilted her head. The platinum lilac earrings on her exquisite shell-like earlobes glowed in the sunlight, almost blinding Mei Xiaowen. Mei Xiaowen instinctively covered his eyes with his arm. She took the opportunity to push him away and quickly walked back to her dorm. Mei Xiaowen watched her enter the dorm with a smile before driving away. On the way he received another call from Ai Weinan. Class rep, you're such a good bro. Ai Weinan have no regrets having a bro like class rep. Ai Weinan's voice trembled with excitement over the phone. Mei Xiaowen grinned. We're already bros, why are you being so polite? I'm not being polite, I'm grateful. Ai Weinan was in a great mood. Class rep, what have you been up to lately? Did you take the postgraduate exams? No, I'm preparing to graduate and go home. Mei Xiaowen turned the steering wheel and drove out of the campus. Ai Weinan chatted with him for a long time. Mei Xiaowen mentioned that he was going to the Red House restaurant to treat everyone. Ai Weinan said happily over the phone, Class rep. I haven't eaten at the Red House in years. Class rep, you have to eat more and get my share. Ah, of course. Mei Xiaowen was about to hang up. I'm driving. I have to go. See you later. Yeah, bye class rep. On the other end of the phone, Ai Weinan looked at the $150,000 in her bank account. She was in a very good mood. She looked at her phone and grinned from ear to ear. Ai Weinan's roommate poked her shoulder and asked in confusion, What's wrong? You're smiling like an idiot. Yesterday you were crying over $100,000, but today you're acting like nothing happened. Of course I'm fine. I got the money. Ai Weinan showed her phone to her roommate and said proudly, Remember the Prince Charming class rep I told you about? I remember. He's cultured, talented, and rich. What's wrong? He was the one who lent it to me. I just told him and he transferred it to me without hesitation. His roommate exclaimed, Really? He transferred over 100,000 yuan to you without asking for any collateral? What are you talking about? What mortgage? What's the relationship between me and the class leader? We are best buddies. Ah. Ai Weinan let out a hearty laugh. No matter how close he is, he wouldn't transfer 100,000 to you without even asking. Her roommate rolled her eyes and grabbed Ai Weinan's shoulder. Unless he's interested in you? How is this possible? Ai Weinan jumped up, blushing. We're really just bros. Her roommate folded her arms and looked at her, smiling without saying a word. Ai Weinan looked down at herself in the mirror. Her eyes were bright and her face glowed. She looked much better than usual. She couldn't help touching her face and murmured, Really? Was it possible that the class leader liked her? It's absolutely true. Weinan, as someone who's been through it, I can say that there aren't many men in this world who can transfer over 100,000 yuan to you with a single word. You have to seize the opportunity. Good luck. Her roommate gave Ai Weinan a thumbs up. Ai Weinan smiled. I think you're overthinking it. She put away the phone and slung on her little bag. Alright, I need to go home now that I got the money. Isn't your home in C City? They were attending university in Z City. It was a 3-hour drive from Z City to C City, but the high-speed rail took half an hour. It was very convenient and fast. Yeah, I'm taking the high-speed rail back. I'll be back tomorrow. Cover for me and sign me in for the public elective class in the afternoon. No problem. In the evening, Mei Xiaowen drove a Lexus SUV to pick up Gu Nianji's roommates for dinner at the Red House restaurant. Gu Nianji sat in the front passenger seat, while Fang Wenxin, Chao Yunshan and Wang Junya sat in the back. Mei Xiaowen also brought a roommate, Lei Qiangxing. Everyone called him Strongman because he was especially tall and strong. The 6 of them arrived in front of the Red House restaurant. Once inside, the hostess led them to the private room Mei Xiaowen had reserved. It was a very elegantly decorated European room, with a large crystal chandelier on the ceiling. An oil painting of a naked woman hung on the wall, as well as a dark blue Monet water lily. There were a few light gold velvet sofas against the wall, and a small coffee table with ashtrays, tissues and a small succulent potted plant. The food's already been ordered. Italian for 6. Mei Xiaowen was obviously a regular here. He was very experienced in ordering food and seating. Everyone sat down at the round table and Strongman began to compliment Green Tea Fang. Green Tea, your dress is so beautiful today. What brand is it? Green Tea Fang held a lady's cigarette between her fair fingers. She blew out a ring of smoke elegantly and glanced sideways at Strongman. Strongman, if you wipe off your drool, I'll tell you the brand. Am I drooling? Strongman quickly wiped his mouth with a tissue, but discovered that Green Tea Fang was only teasing him. He laughed nonchalantly and continued to fawn over her. Fang Wenxin, who was elegant and good at being a Green Tea Fang, had always been the goddess of most of the boys in the Faculty of Law. Mei Xiaowen was one of the few boys who was immune to her. He only had eyes for Gu Nianji. He sat next to her and patiently and meticulously arranged the knife and fork for her. He quietly explained to her how to use it, and even poured her a cup of milk tea. Gu Nianji actually wanted black coffee, but milk tea would do. Thank you, Class Republic. Gu Nianji sat next to Mei Xiaowen. Little Temptress sat on her other side. Little Temptress rested her head on her hand and leaned against the dining table. She asked Mei Xiaowen weakly, Class rep, when will the food be served? I've been on a diet since this morning for this meal. Little temptress, I have cookies here. Do you want some? Strongman had a gentle, girlish heart. He liked to carry all sorts of snacks with him, but it was actually a tool for him to pick up girls. Wang Junius' nickname was Little Temptress. Of course she wouldn't fall for Strongman's tricks. She smiled seductively and Strongman's bones melted. I don't want cookies. I want fried calamari rings with onion. Serve. Serve. Fried calamari rings with onion, right? Strongman waved his arm at the waitress standing at the door and yelled, Fried calamari rings with onion, please? I want a big one. Mei Xiaowen shook his head with a smile and turned to Gun Yanji. Do you want one? It's pretty good. Me? How about fish and chips? Gun Yanji cocked her head. She loved Scottish-style fish and chips the most. It was deep-fried with beef and served with fresh mashed peas. It was delicious. It was very easy to make, but it required a lot of skill to make it taste good. I'm looking for more votes. Stop nagging and save your monthly tickets for me. The time to enter the internet was set. It would be after 10 a.m. on the 8th. It would definitely be 3 a.m. on that day. After that, I'll look at my friends' votes. 100 votes plus 1 update. My stock is waiting for my friends to squeeze it dry. Chapter 43. When she was 13, Gun Yanji had gone to Scotland for a holiday with Hua Xiaoheng to eat fish and chips once at the famous Caroline's pub. She had never forgotten about it and even tried to learn how to make it when she came back. Unfortunately, Qinlai had banned it because it was too oily, unhealthy, and prone to obesity. Mei Xiaowen's gaze became even more sympathetic. The fish and chips he knew were fast food like McDonald's and KFC, completely unpresentable. Who would actually eat that kind of food for the rich and powerful? Let's have onion-fried calamari rings. Mei Xiaowen gently squeezed Gun Yanji's hand and said to the waitress at the door, and 2 large portions of onion-fried calamari rings. Gun Yanji didn't like onions and calamari. But when a few large plates were served, she politely took a few bites and praised them without feeling any pain or itch. Everyone else at the table ate happily. Gun Yanji sipped her milk tea and looked at everyone with a smile. After the appetizers, the main course was served. Because they had ordered Italian food, everyone shared it according to Western customs. Everyone had their own plate and ate what was on their plate. There was no need to serve each other. Mei Xiaowen's main course for Gun Yanji was Milanese veal seasoned with onion and bay, and grilled codfish in tomato sauce. Gun Yanji discreetly pushed the onions beside the veal slices to the side and only cut a piece of beef to taste. Yanji, congratulations on getting the acceptance letter for the B University Faculty of Law postgraduate program. Mei Xiaowen smiled and raised his glass of Moscato Astur to congratulate Gun Yanji. Oh, Little Four, you got the acceptance letter? When did that happen? Little Temptress exclaimed in surprise and also raised her glass. The Moscato Astur had an alcohol content of only 5% and tasted like carbonated drinks. Mei Xiaowen had to drive, so it was fine for him to drink it. This morning, Professor, he sent me the acceptance letter right after the interview, but it was an email. The official letter said it would arrive in 3 days. Gun Yanji also raised her glass and said cheerfully. She was extremely happy. Becoming a postgraduate student under Professor He Jichu at the B University Faculty of Law was one of her wishes. Well done. Green Tea Fong raised her glass as well and smiled gracefully. You missed the interview because you were sick. That Feng Yishi from the dorm next door disgusted me. Thank God she's okay. Otherwise, my only regret in my university life would be Feng Yishi getting into B University's Faculty of Law as a graduate student. She was worried that her roommates would be unhappy with her if they found out that she had secretly gone to the interview without telling them. However, the other 3 people in the dormitory did not care at all. They all smiled and congratulated her. It seemed like she was thinking too much. The corners of Gun Yanji's lips curled up like a water chestnut. She raised her hand and clinked glasses with everyone. Everyone drained their cups in one go, and the atmosphere immediately became lively. Mei Xiaowen thoughtfully poured her another glass of Moscato Astur white wine. It was just enough to cover the bottom of the glass. The atmosphere of the Red House restaurant suddenly became high-end, and everyone spoke softly to each other. The sudden ringing of a cell phone was particularly abrupt. Mei Xiaowen frowned and looked at his phone. It was AI Weinan. He didn't want to answer, so he hung up. However, AI Weinan quickly sent him a text. Class rep, I'll be waiting for you at the entrance of the Red House restaurant. Mei Xiaowen was speechless. He put his phone away and stood up to say to Gun Yanji, I have to go out for a while. Eat slowly and wait for me to come back. He patted Strongman's shoulder. Take good care of them for me. I'll be right back. After Mei Xiaowen left, little temptress who was sitting next to Gunyanji took a sip of wine and asked her, "Where did class rep go?" "I think something happened. Someone called him." Gunyanji didn't know what it was, so she casually changed the subject. "Little temptress, you're going back to the capital after graduation?" "Yeah, my family is rushing me." Little temptress had chicken parmesan and lettuce, bell pepper and octopus salad in front of her. She used a fork to mix the finely sliced cheese and tomato sauce and spread it on the chicken breast. She cut off a small piece and ate it slowly. The cheese had a rich flavor and the tomato sauce was fresh and fragrant. The flavors were strong when mixed together. It was a good accompaniment to a sip of white wine. Green Tifang ate a few mouthfuls of the squid spaghetti and stopped eating. She held her glass of sweet white wine and stared at the door, lost in thought. She waited until Mei Xiaowen came in with a good-looking, moderately built girl. She smiled and coughed lightly. Her tone was very intriguing. "Class rep, you went out to meet some pretty girls?" Mei Xiaowen pulled out a chair for Ai Weinan to sit. He introduced her to the other students in the private room. "This is my high school classmate Ai Weinan. She's studying law at Z University." He then introduced his college classmates to Ai Weinan. "These are my classmates, strongmen. You know them. This is our female classmates Fang Wenxin, Chao Yunshan, Wang Junya, and Gunyanji." Mei Xiaowen deliberated for a moment and decided not to mention their nicknames. He only said their names. Ai Weinan poured herself a glass of wine generously and said, "I'm late. I'll drink 3 glasses as punishment. You guys help yourselves. Xiaowen is a hospitable person, so don't be shy. Eat whatever you want." She downed her glass in one gulp, then downed 2 more in a row. She looked like the hostess of the house. Gunyanji's roommates were all shrewd people. How could they not see that this girl was trying to assert her sovereignty? Green Tifang chuckled. How dare this Ai Weinan show off in front of an expert? Green Tifang, had stopped doing this after she graduated from elementary school. She twirled her wine glass in her hand and said slowly, "What do you mean by drinking 3 glasses of wine as punishment? Shouldn't you usually drink white wine?" Little temptress immediately chimed in. "Yes, if classmate Ai is sincere, you should drink 3 glasses of white wine as punishment." "Interesting. But did the class monitor invite you in advance?" Lady Chow smiled gracefully and also raised her wine cup. Ai Weinan was taken aback. She shook her head. "Class rep didn't know I was coming to see City today. Why would he invite me?" Lady Chow slammed her glass down on the table. Her voice was soft and gentle. "Then why are you punishing yourself? You make it sound like we're all waiting for you. Your face is as big as this goblet." Ai Weinan's face flushed red. She looked at Mei Xiaowen and bit her lip. "Class rep." Mei Xiaowen smiled and tried to smooth things over. "The 3 of them just like to joke around. They have sharp tongues but soft hearts. They're just joking with you. I'll have an extra update at 6 p.m. Looking for recommendation tickets. Save the monthly tickets for me until the 8th. We'll go on sale after 10 a.m. on the 8th. It'll be 3 updates on that day. I'll get 100 monthly tickets plus 1 update. I'll add as many monthly tickets as you have. I'll never go back on my word. Oh, __intersection. Oh. Chapter 44. Yes, we really like to joke around. Little temptress smirked and lowered her head to eat her food. Green Tifang and Lady Chow looked at each other, then at Gunyanji sitting across from them. Gunyanji, on the other hand, didn't have much of a reaction. She continued to smile at them and even winked at them. Green Tifang couldn't help sighing and muttered to Lady Chow, "I feel like the 3 of us were eunuchs." "Eunuchs? What eunuchs?" Strongman asked as he attentively handed Ai Weinan a knife, fork and plate. "What else?" "The emperor isn't worried, but the eunuchs are." Little temptress glared at Gunyanji, her knife and fork rattling against the gold-plated bone china butterfly plate. She was supposed to be the star of the show tonight. How could she let a woman who came out of nowhere steal the limelight? Gunyanji was indeed unhappy, but she and Mei Xiaowen hadn't made up their minds yet. What right did she have to stop other girls from being nice to Mei Xiaowen? Mei Xiaowen heard it too and smiled at Gunyanji. He said affectionately, "Today is Nyenji's admission to the B University Faculty of Law. We're celebrating with her." "Class rep, you're the one celebrating with Nyenji. We're just accompanying her." Lady Chow valued her status above all else. Her catchphrase was, "If you don't have a proper name, then your words won't be justified." Exactly, class rep, you said in front of all of us yesterday that you wanted to pursue Nianji. Why aren't you bringing it up now that your spare tire is here? Little Temptress was an expert at using her looks to bully others. She was always blunt with her words. Wang Junya. Mei Xiaowen raised his eyebrows and called out Little Temptress's name to show that he was angry. There are outsiders here, can't you save me some face? Nianji hasn't even agreed to let me pursue her yet. What if you scare her away by saying that? Gu Nianji's 3 roommates finally calmed down after he put AI Weinan in the outsiders category. AI Weinan's eyes darkened, but it was only for a fleeting moment. She seemed to understand why Mei Xiaowen and the other female college students didn't like her. She let out a hearty laugh. Are you guys misunderstanding something? I've been classmates with the class leader for 6 years and we've always been good friends. His business is my business. As she spoke, she stood up with her glass of wine and walked to Gu Nianji's side. She bent over to raise her glass and smiled. You're Gu Nianji? Our class leader's sweetheart? What a dainty little girl. Don't be afraid, if the class leader doesn't treat you well, tell me, I'll help you teach him a lesson. AI Weinan looked at Mei Xiaowen and dragged out her words. That's just how he is. He's nice to everyone but even nicer to the person in his heart. Mei Xiaowen listened to AI Weinan and said helplessly, Weinan, don't tell me you're drunk already? You can drink more than that, right? Why are you talking like a drunk? Class rep, I'm speaking the truth. You have to let little sister Gu Nianji know how good you are. A man like you, whoever is with you will be blessed. Little sister Nianji, I think you're a very lucky person. As for me, don't mind me, just don't treat me like a woman. I'm a real manly woman. There's a fundamental difference between a manly woman and a manly B*T. Green Tea Fong snorted disdainfully and subtly slapped AI Weinan in the face. AI Weinan suppressed her anger and pretended not to hear. She put down her glass and straightened up to say to Mei Xiaowen, Class rep, I'm here today to thank you for the $150,000 you lent me. I'm returning to C City to deliver the money to my family. They're in urgent need of it. You guys take your time, I'm leaving. Mei Xiaowen stood up as well. I'll walk you out. It's getting late, it's not convenient for a girl like you. Class rep, I'm a manly woman, not a girl. Why would it be inconvenient? Green Tea Fong gracefully wiped the corners of her mouth with a napkin, but her eyes were cold. Personally delivering the money? Haha, who doesn't know how to use online bank transfers these days? Do you want me to teach you? Or Alipay is fine, or WeChat transfer is fine. You don't have to come all the way back to deliver the money. Her words exposed AI Weinan's excuse. AI Weinan smiled awkwardly. Mei Xiaowen slowly sat down again and looked up at AI Weinan apologetically. Then give me a call when you get home. AI Weinan waved magnanimously. You guys eat, I'm going back now. After AI Weinan left, the atmosphere was no longer the same as before. Even Strongman, who loved fawning in front of his goddess, couldn't lift his spirits. A nice dinner party had ended on a sour note. Mei Xiaowen drove Gu Nianji's 4 roommates to their dorm. He had wanted to stop Gu Nianji for a private chat, but his phone rang again. He took it out and saw it was AI Weinan. He quickly picked up and asked, Weinan, you're home, right? Is everything okay at home? Gu Nianji turned to look at him but didn't wait any longer. She went back to her dorm with her roommates. When she got back, Little Temptress scolded AI Weinan. Everyone knows what Sima Zhao is up to. Green Tea Fong put her arm around Gu Nianji's shoulders and comforted her. Don't take it to heart. Men are all like that. I've been in the business for so many years they can't hide anything from me. Gu Nianji giggled. She put her arm around Green Tea Fong's and leaned her head on her shoulder. I'm so happy that I'm your good friend. You have to keep up the good habit of not eating the grass near your burrow. Otherwise, when you, Green Tea Fong, make a move, no man can escape from your palm. Gu Nianji, you're rebelling? How dare you make fun of me, Green Tea Fong? Take this. Green Tea Fong slapped Gu Nianji's perky, but as she spoke, the soft sensation made Green Tea Fong's entire arm go numb. Gu Nianji giggled and pounced on Green Tea Fong to pinch her cheek. Green Tea Fong, I wonder which guy can get intimate with you? Look at your skin, it's so soft I can squeeze water out of it. Really? Really? Little Temptress and Lady Chow also joined in the pinching of Green Tea Fong. The room was filled with laughter, immediately dispelling the discomfort of being interrupted by AI Weinan. Mei Xiaowen hung up the phone and realized that Gu Nianji had already gone upstairs. Strongman slumped in the back seat and said weakly, Class rep, do you really like Gu Nianji? Mei Xiaowen nodded. Why would I pursue her if I didn't really like her? She has nothing but herself. Strongman looked silently in the direction of Gunyenji's dorm room. That's true. Good luck, class rep. Gunyenji doesn't have a family to help her, but she's so smart. She'll definitely have a bright future. You look so carefree, but you know exactly what's going on. Mei Xiaowen shook his head with a smile and shooed Strongman out of the car. You go back first, I still need to talk to Nianji. Looking for more recommendation votes. Save the monthly tickets for me until the 8th, they'll go on sale after 10 a.m. on the 8th. Countdown to release. Chapter 45. Class rep prioritizes hoes over friends. You only care about the opposite sex. Strongman yelled exaggeratedly as he got out of the car. He hiccuped and staggered back to his dorm. Mei Xiaowen leaned against the car and stood in the shadow of the streetlight. He couldn't help smiling as he called Gunyenji. Ever since he graduated from high school, he had not tasted this sweet feeling in his heart. This time he wouldn't let go. He would regret missing out on her. Mei Xiaowen dialed, but Gunyenji hung up. He stared at the phone screen in a daze for a while, then looked up at Gunyenji's dorm room. The lights were still on. She wasn't asleep, but she wasn't picking up. Did the little girl have a temper too? Mei Xiaowen smiled faintly and stopped calling. He took out a cigarette and lit it. He held it in one hand and texted Gunyenji with the other. Nianji, are you asleep? If you're not, can you come down and talk to me for a bit? Nianji, I miss you so much. We've only been apart for half an hour, but I'm already missing you. Nianji, are you angry? If you're angry, then I can't leave you alone. Nianji, we agreed that we can fight, but we can't take it to the next day. Today's matters will be resolved today. Nianji, come down. If you don't, I'll wait here all night. Gunyenji had no choice but to read the text after text. She didn't dare turn off her phone because she was still waiting for Huoxiao's call. She leaned against the bed and played with her phone. Looking at the text messages from Mei Xiaowen, she sighed softly and walked to the window. She saw the lanky Mei Xiaowen leaning against the front of the car, a red light flickering between his fingers. It was probably a cigarette. His action caught her eye. Gunyenji stared at the cigarette between his fingers for a long time. She gripped her phone tightly in her hand. The other 3 people in the dorm saw her expression. They already knew that Mei Xiaowen hadn't left and was still standing guard downstairs. Green Tifong was in the middle of putting on a face mask. Seeing this, she coughed and said, I want to drink Starbucks. What about you guys? Me too. A cup of latte, no sugar. Little Temptress was browsing Weibo while chatting with her family. I want a cappuccino with sugar and milk. Lady Chow sat in front of the computer preparing an internship case. Green Tifong called Gunyenji and asked, Nianji, what do you want? Gunyenji turned to look at her and shook her head. It's so late and you're still drinking coffee? Not worried about insomnia? Are you still going to sleep? Miss, I'm an enlightened demon. What's a cup of latte? The enchantress flirtatiously snapped her fingers. Green Tifong picked up her phone and called the Starbucks on campus. Hello, I'd like 2 cappuccinos, a latte, a carton of fresh milk, and a carton of muffins. C University's Starbucks coffee shop was very fast. Not long after, the OP's roar came from the dormitory's intercom. Room 518. Starbucks. He's here. Green Tifong stood up to walk out, but Gunyenji quickly stopped her. You're going out with a mask on your face? Sit down, I'll get it. Thank you, little four. Green Tifong giggled as she stuffed the money into Gunyenji's hand. Gunyenji walked out with her head down. Green Tifong ran to the balcony and soon saw Gunyenji walk out of the dormitory building. She accepted a large box from the handsome Starbucks coffee delivery boy. Mei Xiaowen walked up to Gunyenji with a cigarette in his hand. Green Tifong elegantly crossed her arms and nodded. Class rep should be paying for the coffee tonight. If it weren't for me, who knows how long these two would have gone on. She had to find a ladder to get them out of it. At the entrance of the dormitory building, the handsome Starbucks guy took the money and left. Mei Xiaowen grabbed Gunyenji's arm and prevented her from leaving. Class rep, is there anything else? Gunyenji asked dryly. I still have to bring it up. How can I let you go up alone when you're like this? Mei Xiaowen threw away the cigarette in his hand and took the big box from Gunyenji's hand. His other hand was still holding her arm as he walked towards his car. Gunyenji struggled but couldn't break free. Mei Xiaowen pulled her into the shadows beside his car. They were standing in a blind spot of the streetlights, so it was darker than anywhere else. Nianji, are you angry? Mei Xiaowen placed the big Starbucks box on the front of his car. He held Gunyenji's hand with both hands and whispered to her, Ai Weinan was my classmate in middle school and high school. She's always been like this, careless like a guy. We're really brothers. You're not jealous of her, are you? Gu Nianji's face flushed, not from shyness but from anger. She hadn't even fallen in love with him yet, how could she be jealous? Class rep, you really don't have to tell me what your classmate is to you. Gu Nianji turned away and stared at the bright, open space under the streetlights. Moths were circling in the light. How can I not tell you? I like you and I'm pursuing you. Mei Xiaowen found Gu Nianji's awkward expression adorable. Her large, inky eyes were like those of a manga girl. Her slightly puckered lips were full and supple, as if inviting a kiss. Mei Xiaowen couldn't help licking his lips as he felt the hint of temptation. Gu Nianji's earlobes turned red. Luckily she was in the shadows and Mei Xiaowen couldn't see. She's been my classmate for so many years. If there was something between us, it would have happened a long time ago. Why would it wait until today? Mei Xiaowen explained patiently, I'm sincere towards you and I know you're not a petty girl. Also you're smarter and prettier than her. I'm not blind, why would I give you up for her? Even if you don't have confidence in yourself, you should have confidence in me. If I wasn't as smart or prettier than her, would you not like me? Gu Nianji quickly glanced at Mei Xiaowen, then quickly looked away. Nianji, you're a law student. Why would you lower yourself to the level of those ignorant women? The fact that I like you proves that you're better than other girls. Even if you don't believe in yourself, you have to believe in my judgment. As Mei Xiaowen spoke, he inched closer to Gu Nianji. His breath approached her step by step, and his hot breath almost touched her face. Gu Nianji pursed her lips, and with a twist of her wrist, she quickly escaped from Mei Xiaowen's grasp. Mei Xiaowen froze and looked at his own hands. He didn't understand how Gu Nianji's soft hands had suddenly slipped out of his grasp like a fish in water. Class rep, I'm going up first. Gu Nianji leaned over to pick up the large Starbucks box from the front of the car. She laughed softly, I'm not angry, don't think too much about it. She was just a bit embarrassed that AI Weinan had suddenly stolen the spotlight in front of her roommates. There will be an update at 6 p.m., asking for recommendation votes. Countdown to release. On the morning of the 8th, after 10 a.m. this Friday morning. Please save the monthly votes for me. Chapter 46. You're really not angry anymore? Mei Xiaowen stared into her eyes as if trying to figure out if she was speaking from the bottom of her heart, or if she was just playing hard to get. Gu Nianji's eyes were clear and she ran her hand through her hair with a smile. Really, I won't be angry over irrelevant people. It's getting late, class rep should go back. Mei Xiaowen looked at his watch. I'll go then, I'll bring you breakfast tomorrow. Gu Nianji quickly shook her head. It's fine, class rep, I have to finish my graduation thesis tomorrow. Okay, you go up, I'll watch you go up before I leave. Mei Xiaowen lit another cigarette and smiled at Gu Nianji, thinking that this girl looked easygoing, but it was actually not easy to move her heart. Gu Nianji saw that she couldn't persuade him, so she didn't say anything else and turned to return to the dorm. She went upstairs and took out her roommate's coffee and muffins from the Starbucks box, and placed them on their desks. She walked to the balcony and looked down. Mei Xiaowen looked up and waved at her with narrowed eyes, before getting into the car and driving away. Her roommate saw that Gu Nianji's expression was relaxed and happy, and knew she wasn't fighting anymore. They didn't say anything but deliberately said, It's been a long day, we need to go to bed early. Gu Nianji went to shower and when she came out, her roommates were all asleep. She looked at her phone, Wuxiao still hadn't called. She took her laptop to her bed to work on her thesis, and waited until 2 in the morning, so tired she couldn't keep her eyes open. She finally closed her laptop and went to sleep. She still kept her phone by her side and didn't even set it to vibrate. When she woke up, it was already bright outside. Little Temptress was doing yoga on the balcony, and heard Gu Nianji talking to Green Tea Fong. She turned to call her. Little 4, class rep brought you breakfast. I saw it, I think it's a breakfast set from Fortune House. Gu Nianji instinctively looked at her phone, still no calls and no messages. It looked like Wuxiao was really busy, or maybe he didn't want to bother with something so trivial. Although she called him Uncle Hua, they weren't actually related at all. He was a high and mighty major general and she was an orphan. Gu Nianji shook her head and quickly got out of bed, got dressed and washed up, then carried her laptop bag downstairs. Mei Xiaowen walked over. Have you had breakfast? Class rep knows I haven't eaten yet, that's why he's bringing it to me, right? Gu Nianji gulped as she looked at the box in his hands. He was really hungry. She didn't eat much yesterday but she was very excited and didn't feel hungry. When he woke up this morning he realized that he was so hungry that he was seeing stars. Mei Xiaowen took her to the stone table and chairs by the school lake for breakfast. It was early March in Sea City, and the mornings were still a little cold. However, the hot bird's nest and Koix's rice porridge, the fresh soup dumplings, and the authentic spiced beef from Fortune House were so delicious that they couldn't stop eating. Unknowingly, she had actually finished the entire breakfast set. Mei Xiaowen only drank a carton of milk and smiled at her. Looks like you really didn't eat enough yesterday. Don't you like the Italian food at the Red House restaurant? Gu Nianji smiled. It's not that I don't like Italian food. I just don't like onions. Mei Xiaowen thought for a moment. There seemed to be more onions in yesterday's dishes. He nodded. I'll know in the future. I won't order dishes with onions for you. The two of them cleaned up and went their separate ways. Gu Nianji went to the library to write her thesis. Mei Xiaowen went to the faculty student council office to deal with some graduation handover matters. Gu Nianji sat in the library all morning and revised the outline of her thesis. Her neck was sore from sitting in front of the computer for so long. She rubbed the back of her neck. Someone sat across from her. Gu Nianji looked up to see it was Professor He Jichu. Professor He? Gu Nianji was surprised and happy. You came to our library to read? He Jichu nodded. He was wearing a navy blue wool casual suit with matching trousers. He sat across from Gu Nianji and was a head taller than her. Gu Nianji realized that He Jichu looked tall and handsome. He wasn't as strong as Hua Xiao, but his aura was similar to Hua Xiao's. Just like his amorous peach blossom eyes and cold and lonely expression, he was filled with a mysterious and contradictory charm. As Gu Nianji studied He Jichu, he was also studying her. She was relatively tall for women her age. She wasn't even 18 years old yet but was already nearly 1.7 meters tall. Her skin was so fair and translucent that it looked like it was covered by a layer of mist from afar. But up close it was flawless. Her large, inky eyes were especially attractive. As for her figure, although she was wearing a loose pink and purple cashmere sweater, it was easy to see the curves of her body. She was much more prominent than the average woman. He Jichu looked Gu Nianji up and down without batting an eyelid, his eyes cold. He looked down and closed the book in front of him. He asked Gu Nianji, "What are you writing?" "My graduation thesis." Gu Nianji remembered that He Jichu would be her instructor next spring. She immediately became excited and excitedly discussed the outline of her thesis with him. He Jichu was indeed an expert in the legal world. He quickly pointed out some of the inadequacies in her outline and helped her think of a few excellent breakthroughs. Gu Nianji revised the outline again and exclaimed, "Listening to you is truly better than studying for 10 years. He Jichu stood up and put one hand in his trouser pocket. He took out his business card and handed it to Gu Nianji. "Work hard on your thesis. You can send it to my email when you're done. I'll help you edit it again." Okay. Gu Nianji was overjoyed. She reached out and took the card from He Jichu. She saw his email address, phone number, office address, and the address of a law firm. Gu Nianji looked at it carefully and asked casually, "Professor He, do you work part-time at the Sovereign Descent law firm?" He Jichu's peach blossom eyes rippled. He seemed to be smiling, but the smile was too faint and fleeting. "I don't work part-time. This is my law firm." "Oh? You really are a role model for us law students." Gu Nianji exclaimed sincerely. When would she ever be able to become a partner or own her own law firm? He Jichu seemed to read her mind. He said dryly, "As long as you can prove your abilities, becoming a partner won't be difficult." "Then I'll accept your kind words." Gu Nianji fawned over He Jichu with a flattering expression. He would be her instructor and boss for the next 3 years. She would only be able to live a comfortable life if she sucked up to him. As soon as He Jichu left, Gu Nianji's phone rang. She quickly took it and saw it was Mei Xiaowen calling. She reached out and lightly swiped the screen. "Class rep, what's up? It's noon. I'll pick you up for lunch." Then he reminded her, "It's raining outside. I brought an umbrella for you. Wait for me at the door. Don't come out." Gu Nianji looked outside. It had indeed started raining. She was touched. She nodded softly and packed her things to go downstairs. At the library entrance, she saw Wen Shuyi eagerly holding an umbrella for Professor He Jichu. She bent over to open the back door for him to get in. Gu Nianji clicked her tongue. Wen Shuyi wasn't a teaching assistant. She was clearly a nanny. He Jichu's black Mercedes splashed with rainwater as it drove into the rain. Several people holding umbrellas in front of the library quickly moved aside. Among them was Mei Xiaowen with a gray umbrella. "Looking for recommendation votes. Save the monthly ticket for me until the 8th. On the morning of the 8th, which is this Friday, it will be on the shelves after 10 a.m. The countdown to the shelves began. Chapter 47. Gu Nianji lifted her backpack over her head and ran towards Mei Xiaowen. A small umbrella covered the two of them as they stumbled towards the carport in front of the library. The umbrella tilted all the way, and by the time Mei Xiaowen put it away and got into the car, he was already half soaked. "Xiaowen, do you have a change of clothes in the car? If you do, take off your trench coat and put it on." Gu Nianji reminded Mei Xiaowen. Humans weren't plants, how could they be emotionless? She felt Mei Xiaowen's kindness towards her, and unknowingly even changed the way she addressed him. Mei Xiaowen was ecstatic to hear Gu Nianji change the way she addressed him. He smiled. "It's fine, this trench coat is waterproof." "That's good, otherwise it would be my fault if you got wet and fell sick." "I want to fall sick, will you come visit me then?" Gu Nianji blushed and coughed, giving an irrelevant answer. "It's raining, let's go to the cafeteria to eat." "Okay." Mei Xiaowen turned the steering wheel onto the road to the C University cafeteria. He had originally planned on taking Gu Nianji out to eat, but although he had a car, the roads were more congested than usual in the rain, so it was better not to go out. They went to the cafeteria and saw many couples feeding each other and kissing from time to time. They didn't feel greasy at all. Gu Nianji used to ignore it, but now she felt disgusted. She averted her eyes and stared straight ahead as she followed Mei Xiaowen to find 2 seats by the window. Mei Xiaowen said, "You sit here, I'll go get lunch." She had to admit, Mei Xiaowen was a very attentive and caring man. Gu Nianji had a great time eating with him, even more so than the 10,000 renminbi Italian food from last night. After lunch, Mei Xiaowen drove her to the library and sat by her side for the rest of the afternoon. The two of them researched and wrote their own theses, and would smile at each other when they were tired. They had unknowingly gotten closer to each other. Over the course of the week, Mei Xiaowen brought breakfast every morning and ate lunch and dinner with Gu Nianji. No matter how busy he was, he would call her 3 times a day at mealtime to tell her what he was doing, ask her if she was tired, and if she wanted to go out on the weekends. Gu Nianji had been thinking about Hua Xiao's call the entire time. She waited until Friday, but Hua Xiao still hadn't replied. She didn't want to keep pestering Chen Lai, and she was even more embarrassed to ask Yin Shixiang and Zhao Liangzi. She put it off until Friday afternoon. After her last class, she apologized to Mei Xiaowen, who had been eagerly waiting for her. "Xiaowen, I have to go back this weekend. I won't be able to keep you company." "Ah? What is it? Do you want me to go with you?" Mei Xiaowen had just gotten a little closer to Gu Nianji and was reluctant to part ways with her. Although he was about to graduate and his graduation thesis was almost done, he still had chores to deal with in the faculty and the school student council. In order to squeeze out time to spend with Gu Nianji, he only slept 3 to 4 hours a day. It was finally the weekend and they could be together all the time. He didn't expect Gu Nianji to go out again. Gu Nianji didn't know what to say. Chen Lai had told her to go back to the apartment. She had a weekly checkup. Although there was nothing wrong with her body, she wasn't a doctor. If Chen Lai thought it was necessary for her to undergo a weekly checkup, she had to obey. Gu Nianji smiled gently. "It's about my guardian. I'll let you see him when you have time." Did this mean she was taking him to see her guardian? Mei Xiaowen was even happier. He nodded profusely. "Great, call me if you need anything." He then asked, "Do you have enough money? What's your Alipay account? I'll transfer some money to you." "I don't have an Alipay account." Gu Nianji stammered and lowered her head guiltily. It wasn't that she didn't have an Alipay account, but it was fully monitored by Zhao Liangzi. He would know immediately no matter what happened. So Gu Nianji didn't want Mei Xiaowen to know. What if he found out and transferred some money to Hua Xiao? She didn't know what he would think. However, Mei Xiaowen felt even more pity for her when he heard this. She didn't even have an Alipay account. How was she a guardian? That was so embarrassing. Mei Xiaowen silently swiped on his phone for a long time before using his bank card to open a new Alipay account for her. He sent the account number and password to her phone and said, "I might not be in the city during the weekend, so you can use this account number. I won't panic if something happens." Gu Nianji was speechless. She returned to the dorm with her phone in hand. When she was about to pack up and return to her apartment in Fengyao Precinct, Green Tea Fong could see that she was in a daze. She put her arm around her shoulder and asked, "What's wrong? Is something on your mind?" Gu Nianji glanced at Green Tea Fong. She knew that she was very knowledgeable about relationships. She took out her phone and showed it to her. "It's like this. Mei Xiaowen opened an Alipay account for me. I don't know what to do with it." Green Tea Fong leaned over to take a look and laughed. She patted her back. Not bad. Our class rep is really like a domineering CEO. He throws an Alipay account at you at the drop of a hat. Little sis, keep it. Remember to buy something for your sisters as a souvenir. Gu Nianji didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She shook her head. I won't use it anyway. If you want to use it, just let Mei Xiaowen know. I don't have the right to use it. Pfft, look at you. Green Tea Fong poked her on the forehead. She turned around and put on her backpack. I'm going now. See you next week. Everyone else in the dorm left. Gu Nianji was the last to leave. She hailed a cab and drove around the city. It was almost dark when she returned to her duplex apartment on the 28th floor of Fengya Precinct's Block C. Chen Lai was already waiting in the apartment. He waved at her as soon as he saw her enter. What took you so long? Come on, I'll test it for you. Gu Nianji was surprised. Brother Chen, why are you here on a Friday? I thought it was going to be tomorrow. Chen Lai had spent the past week in a state of nervousness and excitement. He had used the data Hua Xiaoheng had given him to recreate the virus's manufacturing process. However, he couldn't guarantee that the effects were exactly the same. After all, he couldn't be like Oda Masao and use live women from the Empire as an experiment. When he compared the two sets of data, he discovered an interesting phenomenon. Gu Nianji's blood sample seemed to have an inhibitory effect on the virus. If his guess was correct, Gu Nianji had used her own immunity to defeat the virus. In other words, if she was fine for the next month, she would have already developed antibodies. This was a milestone in the field of synthetic viral weapons. It was natural for the human body to develop antibodies to natural viruses. However, synthetic viral weapons, especially ones like H3AB7 that were completely targeted at a specific type of human body, were basically impossible for the target human body to develop antibodies. If the target human body was able to develop antibodies, then it meant that the synthetic viral weapon had failed. Oda Masao's synthetic viral weapon had already reached the final stages of completion. In other words, it had already been proven that the human body could not produce antibodies on its own. But the antibodies produced in Gu Nianji's blood that could suppress the virus really did seem like antibodies. There will be an additional update at 6:00 p.m. Seeking recommendation votes. Countdown to release. Release after 10:00 a.m. tomorrow. Please save your monthly votes for me. It's such a waste not to release it at the beginning of the month. Chapter 48. Come here, my equipment is ready. I'll be staying here this weekend. You're not allowed to go anywhere. Stay here and let me examine you. Chen Lai pulled Gu Nianji into the study. His equipment was in Hua Xiaoheng's study. Gu Nianji stumbled and couldn't help laughing. Brother Chen, you have to at least let me put my things down and wash my face before you take the test, right? Also, I haven't had dinner. I'm hungry. What dinner? It's okay to go hungry, I'll just treat it as losing weight. Chen Lai didn't listen to her at all. He took off her backpack and took her hand to sit on the examination chair. A series of equipment was quickly placed on Gu Nianji's head, arms, and heart. Gu Nianji knew of Chen Lai's obsession with medicine, but never imagined that one day she would become his test subject. She had no choice but to lean back on the tall examination chair and close her eyes to allow Chen Lai to examine her. After a series of equipment was set up, Chen Lai began to draw her blood again. Gu Nianji opened her eyes and stared at her arms. She suddenly asked, Brother Chen, why are there so many needle marks on my arms? The needle marks weren't actually very obvious. After a week, some of them had long since disappeared. However, Gu Nianji's vision was surprisingly good. She could see even the smallest needle marks. She had been extremely busy this week at school. Even when she showered, she was in a hurry. She hadn't taken a good look at her body, so she only realized now. Chen Lai's expression didn't change. Yes, I drew your blood the week you fainted. Gu Nianji was speechless. She stared at Chen Lai and closed her eyes to rest. But Chen Lai's words kept echoing in her ears. She thought about how she had fainted for a week because of an aphrodisiac. If she was really fine, why would Chen Lai draw so much blood for her? Also, why did she still have to be examined once a week when she was clearly fine? Was it really just an aphrodisiac? Gu Nianji was a very cautious person. These thoughts spun around in her mind and immediately pointed to a bigger problem. She opened her eyes and looked at Chen Lai, who was busy with the equipment. She suddenly asked, Am I poisoned? Her question was very sudden. Under such circumstances, most people would definitely blurt out their true thoughts. However, Chen Lai was no ordinary person. He was a military doctor of the Imperial Army with the rank of senior colonel. He was much more vigilant than the average person and had received a lot of specialized training. Therefore, Gunyanji's plan did not succeed. Qinlai shook his head calmly. Of course you weren't poisoned. You were just drugged with a strong aphrodisiac. Its effects are much stronger than normal aphrodisiacs. In order to concoct the antidote for you, I even took out my trump card. Ah? Really? Gunyanji's eyes widened. Her eyes were large to begin with, and they were dark and bright. When she looked at people, there was a childlike innocence and trust in them. Qinlai buried his head in his hands and only looked at the data on his instrument. He didn't look at Gunyanji's eyes. He was worried that he would accidentally reveal the truth when he looked into those eyes that could speak. The consequences were too severe. He didn't want to be beaten up and spend the rest of his life doing experiments in prison. Of course it's true. That's why you have to repay me by letting me do follow-up observations and perfect the data system for my antidote. Qinlai pushed up his glasses, which were about to slide down the bridge of his nose, and resumed his serious demeanor. Gunyanji finally believed Qinlai's words and breathed a sigh of relief. She lay back on the examination chair and said lazily, "You should have told me earlier. You knew I was a coward and you still tried to scare me. What do you think it is? I thought I was poisoned. The poison is still lingering in my system," Gunyanji mumbled with a smile. She leaned against the examination chair and slowly fell asleep. It's better that she's asleep. Qinlai even injected her with drugs to make her fall into a deep sleep so that he could continue to observe her body's various functions. For the past 2 days, Gunyanji had been drifting in and out of sleep. Qinlai also called Yi Zitan over to help take care of Gunyanji. Because Yi Zitan was a female doctor, it was more convenient for a female doctor to handle some things. Over the weekend, Mei Xiaowen called Gunyanji countless times, but Gunyanji didn't return a single call, not even a text. He was going crazy with anxiety. They even went to Fenyao precinct, where Gunyanji was helping people look at houses. But this time he wasn't even able to enter the precinct. The last time he was able to enter, Qinlai had agreed to let him in. This time, Qinlai wanted to observe Gunyanji's vital signs without interference. Of course, he didn't want him to come in and cause trouble. Gunyanji was fully awake on Sunday night. She sat up in bed and looked at Yi Zitan packing her things. She asked in surprise, "When did Dr. Yi get here?" Yi Zitan turned around and smiled. "You're awake? Are you hungry?" Qinlai ordered takeout. "Want to eat together?" As soon as she heard there was food, Gunyanji immediately threw off the blankets and climbed out of bed. Where? I'm so hungry I can eat a cow right now. There's no cow but there's braised pork. Do you want to eat it? Qinlai poked his head in to take a look and expressed his approval of Gunyanji's lively spirit. He smiled as he stroked the stubble that had just grown on his chin. It's a nutritious meal from the base cafeteria. You can't eat it outside. Gunyanji saw Qinlai and pounced on him to grab his arm. She cocked her head and smiled at him. "Brother Qin, the base cafeteria has braised pork? Don't try to fool me. My brain isn't broken." "Hee hee, you little brat, you're getting more and more mischievous." Qinlai took advantage of his seniority in front of Gunyanji. "I still remember the first time I saw you. You were like a little animal, scratching everyone you saw. I still have your fingernail marks on the back of my hand." Gunyanji covered her mouth and laughed. "Did I do it? I don't remember." As the two of them joked, Yi Zitan had already set the bowls, chopsticks and food. She called them over to eat. Gunyanji ate until she couldn't take it anymore. She put down her chopsticks. It was getting late and Yi Zitan was going back to the base. Qinlai was worried about her going back alone, so he discussed with Gunyanji. "Nyanji, Dr. Yi and I are going back to the base. Is it okay for you to stay here alone?" He knew that Gunyanji rarely stayed here alone. Most of the time she stayed with Wuxia. But it wasn't like no one stayed here. Qinlai had left early last week, and Gunyanji stayed the night alone. She returned to school early the next morning. Gunyanji wanted to learn to live independently as soon as possible. Therefore she didn't ask Qinlai to stay. For one, it wasn't good for Yi Zitan to go back to the base alone. But more importantly, Gunyanji knew that Qinlai secretly liked Yi Zitan. He just didn't have the courage to pursue her. Qinlai treated her so well, so of course she had to return the favor. Gunyanji blinked at Qinlai. It's okay. Brother Qin, go with Dr. Yi. I still have things to do." Qinlai turned to Yi Zitan. "Dr. Yi, I still have some data to discuss with you. We can talk about it on the way." "Sure, no problem. I also have some questions to ask you." Yi Zitan nodded quickly and got up to get her laptop bag. Looking for more recommendation votes. Enter V after 10 in the morning tomorrow. It will definitely be 3 in the morning tomorrow. After that, I'll look at my friends' monthly votes. 100 monthly votes plus 1 update. My stockpile is waiting for my friends to squeeze it dry. I'm actually very nervous. I don't know how many friends are subscribing and voting. If you like this book, please support the original subscription. Thank you. Chapter 49. Gu Nianji turned around and gave Qinlai a thumbs up while Yi Zitan wasn't looking. She mouthed, "Good luck." Qinlai winked at her, his round face a little embarrassed. He lowered his head and followed Yi Zitan out. The door closed with a bang and the apartment suddenly became quiet. Gu Nianji stood alone in the empty living room for a while, then ran up and down the apartment to turn on all the lights. She didn't expect that when the lights were on she would feel even more lonely. It was as if every light was showing how empty the spacious apartment was. At the same time at the Sea City airport, when Shuyi sent an email before boarding the plane back to the imperial capital. "Sorry you messed with someone you shouldn't have. Our boss won't take your case." When Shuyi turned off her phone and walked to the special passage for the first-class cabin. After boarding the plane, when Shuyi entered the first-class cabin and saw Hijichu sitting in the spacious first-class seat, he tilted his head to look at the blue sky and white clouds outside the window. "Professor He." When Shuyi sat down next to him and covered him with a blanket, Hijichu didn't say anything. He only tilted his body and quietly closed his eyes to rest. Qinlai and Yi Zitan returned to the base and bumped into Hua Xiaoheng, who had just come out of the training ground. He saw Qinlai and Yi Zitan and stopped by the roadside. "Hua Xiao, did you run 10 kilometers cross-country again?" Yi Zitan smiled and waved. Hua Xiaoheng wore a black t-shirt and army green camouflage pants tucked into his army boots. He had a cigarette in his hand and his tall, broad frame stood under the streetlights. His imposing manner made people want to immediately stand at attention and report to their superiors. Qinlai and Yi Zitan stood at attention in unison. "Didn't you go to Nianji's place? How is she? Did she go back to school?" Hua Xiaoheng raised his chin to signal for them to be at ease. Qinlai shook his head. "Nianji is in good health. There's nothing wrong with her for now. She hasn't returned to school yet. She said she'll go back tomorrow morning." He then added, "She was like this last week." Hua Xiaoheng took a drag and waved at them. After Qinlai and Yi Zitan left, Hua Xiaoheng stood under the tree alone, the cigarette flickering between his fingers. He finished the cigarette in silence before walking to his residence at the Special Operations Forces base. After showering, Gu Nianji sat alone on the bay windowsill of her apartment. She hugged her little doll and quietly looked at the lights outside the window. His phone had just been charged. When he turned it on, he saw countless missed calls and messages. Most of them were from Mei Xiaowen. Gu Nianji, who was lonely, felt strange when she saw the missed calls and messages. This feeling of being missed by another person was very novel. She looked through the messages one by one. "Nianji, where did you go? Nianji, call me back if it's convenient for you. Nianji, if you can't call me, just text me back. Send me an email. I've been waiting for your reply. Nianji, we've only been apart for 36 hours and 12 minutes, and I'm already visibly aging. For the first time, I understand what it means to not see each other for one day feels like 3 years. I'm having dinner with a big family at night. Although there are many people and it's bustling, I feel like I'm lost in a busy city. Those hustle and bustle don't belong to me. I just want to be with you until the end of time. Miss you, miss you, miss you." There was nothing else in the last message. It was all her name. Gu Nianji, Gu Nianji, Gu Nianji. She didn't know how many times he wrote it. Resting her chin on the head of the doll in her arms, Gu Nianji thought to herself that Mei Xiaowen, a rich second-generation heir, was also a hipster. Even his text messages were brilliant. Her fingers rubbed the phone for a long time before she finally made a call. "Nianji? You're back." The phone only rang once before Mei Xiaowen picked up. It was obvious he'd been waiting for her call. Gu Nianji was a bit touched. She hummed quietly and said softly, "Someone from my family came to take me to the mountains as a guest. The signal there isn't good." Mei Xiaowen sighed deeply and said as he drove, "I'm on my way back to school now. Do you want me to pick you up and we can go back together?" There was an obvious smile in his voice. His gloomy mood over the weekend had been lifted by Gu Nianji's phone call. Mei Xiaowen's suggestion was too tempting. Gu Nianji found she couldn't refuse. She really didn't want to stay here alone for a night. In the past, Hua Xiaoheng had occasional weekends when he had urgent business matters and couldn't be with her. However, she didn't feel lonely at that time. She subconsciously believed that regardless of whether he was there or not, he would eventually come back. But in the past week, she had a feeling that Hua Xiaoheng was getting further and further away from her. Gu Nianji only hesitated for 10 seconds before saying decisively, "Then is it convenient for you to pick me up?" She didn't want to be alone here. It was better to go back to the noisy dormitory to get a good night's sleep. Mei Xiaowen was overjoyed. He quickly turned the steering wheel and drove towards the Fengyao precinct where Gu Nianji lived. He said, "I'll be there in about 20 minutes, so it should be around 10. Gu Nianji jumped off the bay window and smiled. "I'll wait for you at the entrance." She went to the bathroom for a 10-minute shower and packed her things. She put on her backpack and carried a small suitcase out the door. Hua Xiaoheng finished his work in the study and looked at his watch. It was almost 10. He took out his phone and thought Gu Nianji was probably asleep. He didn't call her. Instead, he called the special ops personnel secretly protecting Gu Nianji. Since Gu Nianji had been in danger 2 weeks ago, Hua Xiaoheng had secretly increased her security level. Because Hua Xiaoheng was her guardian, the personnel secretly protecting Gu Nianji were from the special ops. The personnel received Hua Xiaoheng's call and whispered, "Miss Gu just came out of the precinct. She's standing at the entrance. She seems to be waiting for someone." Who is she waiting for at this hour? Hua Xiaoheng turned on his computer and hovered his mouse over a program. In the end, he moved it away and didn't click on the special program. The person on the other end was about to say he didn't know when he turned to see a Buick driving over. Mei Xiaowen, Gu Nianji's class monitor, got out of the car. The person quickly reported to Hua Xiaoheng, "She should be waiting for Miss Gu's class monitor, Mei Xiaowen." Hua Xiaoheng hung up and tossed his work phone on the desk. He walked to the balcony and lit a cigarette with one hand. He put on a special multifunction Bluetooth headset and finally dialed Gu Nianji's number through an external line. Gu Nianji sat in Mei Xiaowen's car and was chatting with him when she suddenly heard her phone ring. She looked down to see it was Hua Xiaoheng. Hua Xiao probably wouldn't call at this hour. She thought it must be Zhao Liangzi again. Gu Nianji lazily unlocked her phone and said hello. Her voice was slightly raspy because she hadn't slept in the middle of the night. It had a natural charm to it. First update asking for monthly and recommendation votes. Flipping back, there was a second update. Starting tomorrow, 100 monthly votes will be added once. I will add as many monthly votes as you have. I won't go back on my word. Chapter 50. Mei Xiaowen was focused on driving and couldn't help but shiver when he heard Gu Nianji's lazy hello. Her voice was so sweet he felt like his ears were about to melt. Hua Xiaoheng looked down at the cigarette between his fingers. His voice was even deeper than usual and had an indescribable magnetism that could suck a person's heart in. He slowly called out her name. "Nianji." Gu Nianji sat up straight in surprise. "Uncle Hua?" "Yeah." Hua Xiaoheng responded dryly. "Uncle Hua, you're not busy anymore?" "I just finished." "When are you coming back, Uncle Hua?" Gu Nianji asked quietly, her expression soft and delicate. Only Hua Xiaoheng could make her completely let down her guard. If there was one person in this world that she could completely trust and rely on, it could only be Hua Xiaoheng. Mei Xiaowen couldn't help but look back at her. He never knew her voice could be so soft. Mei Xiaowen felt his body heat up. Gu Nianji's entire attention was focused on her phone. From the moment she received Hua Xiaoheng's call, the night was no longer lonely, and she was no longer alone. Of course, Gu Nianji also knew that this feeling had nothing to do with Hua Xiaoheng himself. She was just secretly using him as her spiritual sustenance. Just like religious people, Hua Xiaoheng was her religion. Hua Xiaoheng didn't know what to say. He wasn't good with words and wasn't very patient. He always acted more than he spoke. After a moment of silence, Gu Nianji's soft breathing came through the earpiece. He could almost hear her heartbeat. Gu Nianji was also very nervous. She didn't even dare to breathe loudly when Hua Xiaoheng didn't speak. However, the longer she held her breath, the faster her heart beat. If Chen Lai were to take her vital signs right now, he would tell her that she was suffering from a high level of hypoxia and the body's self-defense mechanism had activated automatically. Mei Xiaowen was driving and didn't hear Gu Nianji speak for a long time. He thought she had finished her call and asked casually, "Is that your guardian?" Hua Xiaoheng heard Mei Xiaowen's voice over the phone and opened the study door to walk downstairs. He asked casually, "Where are you? Who's talking?" Gu Nianji slowly exhaled and relaxed her stiff body. She leaned back in the car seat and watched the flashing lights outside the window. She chuckled. "It's my classmate. He's the class rep at the university. I'm in his car. He's taking me back to school." With the chatterbox open, the rest was much easier. Hua Xiaoheng grunted and continued to ask, "What did you do this week?" Gu Nianji didn't want to put down the phone in the first place, so she immediately told Hua Xiaoheng everything that had happened at school, in the dormitory, and even about her interview. She told him everything in detail. She had always been articulate, or she would not have thought of studying law. As usual, Hua Xiaoheng grunted occasionally to indicate that he was listening. Gu Nianji spoke like this the entire way, and when she looked up, she was already downstairs. Time passed so quickly, Gu Nianji thought happily as she got out of the car with her backpack and suitcase. Mei Xiaowen offered to help her carry it up, but she firmly refused. Hua Xiaoheng was still on the phone, and Gu Nianji didn't have time to say anything more to Mei Xiaowen. She turned to enter the dormitory building. Gu Nianji got up to walk upstairs when she heard Hua Xiaoheng say over the phone, "Nianji, Chenlai told me about you looking for a boyfriend." Gu Nianji's face turned as red as a honey apple. She was about to explain that she wasn't looking for a boyfriend, but that someone was pursuing her. Hua Xiaoheng said, "I don't mind." Gu Nianji was silent for a long time before smiling. "Okay." She then hung up. She stopped and looked up to see that she was standing at the dormitory door. So Hua Xiaoheng had actually called her the entire way. She barely spoke to Mei Xiaowen in the car and really treated him like a chauffeur. How rude. She needed to thank him properly tomorrow. Gu Nianji pushed the door, but it didn't open. It was still locked, so the other three hadn't returned yet. Gu Nianji had no choice but to take out her keys to open the door. She turned on the lights and saw the empty room. There were 2 bunk beds, 4 desks, and 4 wardrobes. Her lips curved into a smile. The call she had been looking forward to for so many days had finally come. To her, it was like the other shoe had finally fallen on the ground. From now on, she had to get used to living alone. Gu Nianji put down her backpack and suitcase and began to organize her things. She had already showered when she returned. She only went to the bathroom to wash her face again and put on a face mask before turning on her laptop to continue writing her thesis. The Special Operations Forces personnel who were secretly protecting Gu Nianji drove her the entire way, and occasionally contacted the base's communication system. Before Zhao Liangzi went to bed, he opened his computer's tracking and monitoring system to see that Hua Xiaoheng had been talking to Gu Nianji the entire time. He lightly clicked the mouse, and a map of Sea City quickly appeared on the computer screen. The little red dot representing Gu Nianji's position kept moving, and was almost at the entrance of Sea University. This meant that Gu Nianji was talking to Hua Xiaoheng on the phone. What the hell? Zhao Liangzi smacked the mouse and muttered to himself, "How could this be? Did something happen to Nianji?" No one knew better than Zhao Liangzi how busy someone in a high position like Hua Xiaoheng was. However, the busy Major General Hua had taken the precious time of a Sunday night to call Gu Nianji. It had been almost half an hour. Zhao Liangzi couldn't help but call Yin Shixiang on the internal line. "Big Xiong, what's up with Nianji?" Yin Shixiang was already asleep, and groggily awoken by Zhao Liangzi. He closed his eyes and said, "Nothing. Nothing's happened to Nianji recently." If something had happened, how could he not know? He was actually in charge of Gu Nianji's affairs. Zhao Liangzi scratched his head and looked at the little red dot on the computer screen. It had already reached the entrance of Sea University. The line on Hua Xiaoheng's end was still busy. Why does Hua Xiao keep calling Nianji? It's so late, Nianji should be on the bus back to campus. Zhao Liangzi stroked his chin and asked thoughtfully. Yin Shixiang had taken care of Gu Nianji for so many years, so he knew better than Zhao Liangzi how much Hua Xiaoheng valued Gu Nianji. He yawned and said nonchalantly, "You still don't get it? Hua Xiao is worried about Nianji going back to campus alone in the middle of the night, so he keeps calling to keep her company. If anything happens, Hua Xiao can immediately dispatch people without waiting for anyone to report." Zhao Liangzi was speechless. A thought flashed through his mind for a while, but he suppressed it and smiled. "That's good. I was worried something would happen. You go to sleep, I'll sleep too. There were people on duty at the base anyway." He could sleep without worry for 24 hours. Late at night, the base of the Special Operations Forces in Sea City was quiet and peaceful. Hua Xiaoheng stood under the night sky and looked up at the sky full of stars. He was finally relieved. He put his hands in his trouser pockets and walked unhurriedly back to the small building he lived in. Second update asking for monthly votes and recommendation votes. Flipping back, there was still the third update. Starting tomorrow, 100 monthly votes will be added once. I will add as many monthly votes as you have. I will never go back on my word. Chapter 51. The days after that were uneventful. 3 weekends passed quickly and it was the end of April. Gu Nianji returned to her apartment in the Fengyao precinct every weekend to have Chen Lai examine her and draw her blood. Mei Xiaowen picked her up from school every Sunday night. However, Hua Xiaoheng never called again. Chen Lai had gained the most in the past month. After 4 tests, he discovered that Gu Nianji had not been affected in the slightest. Oda Masao's data had recorded negative effects on other women from the empire, but Gu Nianji had not been affected at all. She had miraculously recovered, and Chen Lai was now convinced that Gu Nianji's body had developed antibodies that could fight against the virus. That's it. I've already extracted the antibodies. Chen Lai showed off his latest research results to Hua Xiaoheng. The antibodies were serum, so if someone was infected with the virus again, they could directly inject it into the bloodstream to detoxify the virus. It was convenient and quick. Then they would have to create a vaccine so that everyone would not be affected by the virus. Hua Xiaoheng crossed his arms and looked at the test tube in Chen Lai's hand. You only need to extract the antibodies. You don't need to report this. He didn't want Gu Nianji to receive too much attention from the empire's military. Having been her guardian for 6 years, Hua Xiaoheng didn't think Gu Nianji was any different from anyone else. He wanted Gu Nianji to live a normal life, and didn't want her to become Chen Lai's lab rat. Chen Lai understood and rolled his eyes. What are you talking about? Am I that bad of a person? I'm not Frankenstein. Hua Xiaoheng glanced at him, his expression solemn. Remember, you signed the military order. I know. Chen Lai put the test tube back into the medical fridge. Okay, this matter has been resolved. Nianji doesn't have to come here to be my lab rat anymore. The end of April was the best time of the year in Sea City. It was also the best time for Sea University's seniors. At this time, postgraduate entrance exams and job searches were almost over, and graduation theses were almost complete. All that was left was polishing and further research to prepare for the oral defense. Gu Nianji and Mei Xiaowen had been a couple for the past month, going to class together, studying together, writing papers in the library, and having breakfast, lunch, and dinner together. Their classmates thought they were like Siamese twins. Class rep, marry our Nianji after you graduate. Little temptress bumped into Gu Nianji and Mei Xiaowen in the cafeteria. She smiled as she tapped her bowl with a spoon. I'm afraid the entire Sea University class won't be able to stand watching you two flaunt your love everywhere. Mei Xiaowen looked at Gu Nianji and smiled faintly. If she agrees, I can start the paperwork right away. Gu Nianji smiled and changed the topic. Little temptress, aren't you going to buy food from the window? I heard there's your favorite bitter melon scrambled eggs today. If you're late, you won't have it? The little temptress had a unique taste. This kind of dish was indeed her favorite. She screamed and ran to the nearest window. Mei Xiaowen saw Gu Nianji blush at little temptress's joke and thought she was particularly conservative and cute. Perhaps his classmates at school wouldn't believe him, but he had only held hands with Gu Nianji in the past month. He hadn't even kissed her face. When other students confirmed their relationship, they all used the bed as the standard. So was he and Gu Nianji a boyfriend and girlfriend, or was it more of a friendship and less of a love affair? Mei Xiaowen wasn't in a hurry. He smiled and led Gu Nianji to a table by the window on the second floor of the cafeteria. He hung his bag on the back of a chair and placed his phone on the table. You sit here. I'll go buy food. Gu Nianji nodded. Her phone just happened to ring. She saw it was Hua Xiaoheng's number and immediately answered. Uncle Hua. Gu Nianji called out happily. Her delicate little face lit up instantly. It was as if there was light shining from inside out. No matter how much she prepared herself, she couldn't resist Hua Xiaoheng's phone call. How could a believer resist their own beliefs? Mei Xiaowen was stunned by Gu Nianji's sudden bloom. He turned his head slightly and averted his gaze. He quickly walked to the window to get food. He didn't see Gu Nianji's expression instantly change when she heard the voice of Hua Xiaoheng's personal secretary, Zhao Liangzi. Zhao Liangzi gripped Hua Xiaoheng's phone and smiled wryly. He braced himself and said, Nianji, it's brother Zhe. Hua Xiao has been very busy lately. He'll be going on a business trip soon. He can't call you right now. Oh, I understand. Gu Nianji replied quietly. She had already suppressed the disappointment in her heart. Zhao Liangzi stood on the balcony of the penthouse apartment in Fengyao precinct. Several orderlies were packing Hua Xiaoheng's things. Nianji, Hua Xiao also said that you're all grown up now. You can do whatever you want. You don't have to ask for his opinion. Zhao Liangzi supervised the orderlies as he left the balcony and walked to the gym on the second floor. Hua Xiaoheng was there inspecting the gym equipment. Zhao Liangzi's words sounded like parting words. Gu Nianji's heart was walking on a tightrope. The wind blew and her feet swayed. She couldn't feel anything. The sun was shining brightly at noon. The cafeteria was bustling with noise, but she felt like she was in a deserted wilderness. Gu Nianji bit her lip hard to suppress her extreme panic. It was like she was in a burning car again. No matter how much she cried or screamed, no one responded. The fire cut off her way of coming and going. Time passed by quickly. Everyone in her life was a passerby, and she was the only one left. Even Hua Xiaoheng was about to let go and leave her. Nianji? Nianji? Are you still listening? Zhao Liangzi didn't get a response from Gu Nianji for a long time. He felt something was off. He covered the phone and whispered to Hua Xiaoheng, who was working on a screw. Hua Xiao, Nianji doesn't seem very happy. Hua Xiaoheng ignored him. His hands worked methodically. Zhao Liangzi grinned and walked out of the gym with his phone. Gu Nianji finally snapped out of her daze. She put on a smile that resembled a mask. I'm here. I heard you. I got it. Zhao Liangzi sighed. His voice became lighter. That's good. Alright, call Big Xiong if you need anything. Hua Xiao and I are going on a business trip. We won't see each other for a while. Take care. Gu Nianji panicked. Brother Zhe, don't hang up. When are you guys coming back? Can I see Uncle Hua before I leave? Her voice was so loud that it came from the phone. Zhao Liangzi almost agreed. He looked up to see that Hua Xiaoheng had already come out of the gym. His dark eyes were bottomless. He shook his head at him. Zhao Liangzi had no choice but to say, there's no time. You know. Alright, that's enough. We're going. See you later. Zhao Liangzi hung up. He was sweating profusely. He was unhappy with Hua Xiaoheng. Hua Xiao, that's too heartless. We watched Nianji grow up. How could you do that? Third update. Asking for monthly and recommendation votes. Today is the first day I joined V. Asking for monthly votes. Starting tomorrow, 100 monthly votes will be added once in addition to the normal updates. I will add as many monthly votes as you have. I won't go back on my word. Note, monthly votes cast today will also be added. Don't worry about voting. Chapter 52. Monthly votes and chapters. I'm waiting for my friends to squeeze out all my chapters. Please vote for monthly votes X2. Please vote for monthly votes X2. Please vote for monthly votes X2. I'm so nervous. Do you like this book? Use your monthly votes to answer. Chapter 53. She's grown up and has to learn to be independent. She can't rely on others anymore. Hua Xiaoheng usually didn't explain himself, but he made an exception this time. He turned a corner and walked towards Gu Nianji's bedroom. Zhao Liangzi followed behind and continued to express his dissatisfaction. You're right. But can you not be so simple and crude? She's not like me and Big Xiong who can be beaten up and shameless. She's also not a special forces soldier. She'll cry if you don't want to see her like that, okay? I have plans. You don't have to worry. Hua Xiaoheng said nonchalantly. He stopped in front of Gu Nianji's bedroom and turned to glance at Zhao Liangzi. Although he was expressionless, his eyes were like the latest laser weapons developed by the Imperial Army. One look and countless people would die. Zhao Liangzi shrank back in fear and muttered unwillingly, but Nianji is very timid. She was so scared that she lost her memory. Aren't you afraid she'll be scared again and forget about you? Hua Xiaoheng didn't answer this hypothetical question at all. His eyes swept across Gu Nianji's bedroom. The little girl's bedroom was very clean and tidy. A large, comfortable bed was covered with 1,800 cream-colored, bamboo-patterned Egyptian cotton sheets. There were a few dolls at the head of the bed. They were dressed in a misty pink and purple princess dress, with thick bangs, long and narrow eyes, silver plate-like faces and plump figures. They looked like little girls who had walked out of ancient paintings. They were not the common Western dolls, but the dolls with the ancient characteristics of the empire. Reading books, an expert would know that these dolls weren't available on the market. They were custom-made. Hua Xiaoheng's mind flashed to the 12-year-old Gu Nianji hugging these dolls tightly. He was as busy with work then as he was now and couldn't be with her every day. She would break down as soon as she couldn't see him. Later, Qinlai suggested that according to child psychology, giving her something she was familiar with should ease her nervousness. These dolls were the ones Gu Nianji had hugged in the photo. They should be things she was familiar with. So they made her a batch of dolls based on the ones in the photo. Have you seen this room? Hua Xiaoheng glanced at the dolls and turned to look at Zhao Liangzi. Take everything that belongs to me. This is Nianji's bedroom. How could your things be here? Zhao Liangzi resisted the urge to roll his eyes at Hua Xiaoheng. Hua Xiaoheng folded his hands behind his back and stood tall and straight. He said expressionlessly, "This is a military order." Zhao Liangzi was tongue-tied and had no choice but to answer loudly, "Yes, chief. Military orders must be obeyed." How could he dare to argue? But this was Gu Nianji's bedroom. Was it okay to let the orderlies search it? Zhao Liangzi was hesitating when he heard Hua Xiaoheng say slowly, "We can't leave any traces." Zhao Liangzi sighed. He'd better do it himself. Since he had to search the house without letting anyone discover any traces of the search, he could only rely on this unfortunate personal secretary who was exceptionally meticulous and capable. "Want to read?" Zhao Liangzi coughed and walked in with his head held high. There were actually very few things in Gu Nianji's bedroom and it was very organized. Zhao Liangzi carefully looked around the room. He even looked in the small cupboard in the bathroom where she kept her things. He didn't see anything that belonged to Hua Xiaoheng. What an idiot. Why would there be a man's things in a little girl's bedroom? Zhao Liangzi kept cursing Hua Xiaoheng in his mind as he walked out of the bathroom. He looked up to see Hua Xiaoheng sitting on Gu Nianji's bed. He quickly put his feet together and said loudly, "Chief, there's nothing for you in this room." "You looked everywhere?" Hua Xiaoheng looked up at Zhao Liangzi. "Everywhere? You didn't miss a single inch?" Zhao Liangzi scratched his head. Had he missed something? Usually, when Hua Xiaoheng asked questions like this, it was when he caught them making a mistake. Zhao Liangzi pursed his lips and didn't dare to speak. Hua Xiaoheng looked at him and reached under Gu Nianji's pillow to pull out a black t-shirt. He waved it at Zhao Liangzi. "What is this?" Zhao Liangzi's eyes bulged. What was going on? Why was there a men's t-shirt under Gu Nianji's pillow? Hua Xiaoheng didn't understand why his t-shirt was there either. Of course, he also didn't understand why he had lifted Gu Nianji's pillow. "Take it." Hua Xiaoheng threw the large black t-shirt at Zhao Liangzi. Zhao Liangzi wanted to be brave and argue, "How did you know this was your t-shirt? Are you the only person in the world who wears a black t-shirt like this?" But when he looked closely at the logo on the t-shirt, Zhao Liangzi could only shut up. The black t-shirt really was Hua Xiaoheng's. This was a uniform issued by the military. With Hua Xiaoheng's rank, all of his items had special numbers. Zhao Liangzi rubbed his nose and had no choice but to search Gu Nianji's closet again. Hua Xiaoheng got up and went back to his study. He opened the safe and put something in it. Zhao Liangzi looked carefully a few times to make sure there were no more of Hua Xiaoheng's things. He then secretly called Gu Nianji. "Nianji, why is Hua Xiaoheng's t-shirt under your pillow?" Gu Nianji was waiting to eat in the cafeteria. "Oh, that's my pajamas. Where else would I put it?" "You used Hua Xiaoheng's t-shirt to make pajamas." Zhao Liangzi was even more shocked. "No way. Hua Xiaoheng didn't even prepare pajamas for you?" Gu Nianji blushed. "Brother Zhe, don't make a fuss. It's not what you think." "What am I thinking?" Zhao Liangzi shoved the t-shirt into the suitcase. "I'm going to ask Big Xiong how he takes care of you. Hua Xiaoheng is busy but he's not." Gu Nianji quickly covered her phone and turned to the window. She lowered her voice and said, "Brother Zhe, you misunderstood. I like to use men's t-shirts as pajamas. They're cotton, breathable, and comfortable. I've been wearing them since I was 12. I'm used to it." Gu Nianji's words were half-truths. The truth was that no one had prepared pajamas for her when she first moved in with Hua Xiaoheng. Hua Xiaoheng was a man, and he wasn't as attentive and thoughtful as a woman. To save trouble, he simply tossed her a brand new black t-shirt from the Special Operations Forces as pajamas. She wasn't used to it at first, but she liked it after wearing it for a while. Other than the one under the pillow in the apartment, she also secretly hid 3 or 4 brand new black t-shirts that the military later distributed to Hua Xiaoheng to change into. Hua Xiaoheng probably didn't remember these things anymore. In the past 2 years, Gu Nianji had never appeared in front of Hua Xiaoheng in her pajamas. Hua Xiaoheng also never went to her bedroom. Zhao Liangzi said, "Oh." He was confused. "Is it really that comfortable? Why don't I feel like—" Gu Nianji laughed. "Why don't you try it and you'll know." She suddenly realized something. "Huh? How did you know I had pajamas under my pillow?" Zhao Liangzi chuckled and quickly closed the box in his hands. He said to Gu Nianji, "I still have something to do. Talk to you later." He hung up. First update asking for monthly votes and recommendation votes. Scrolling back, there were monthly votes of 100 plus updates for the second update, and at 1 p.m., there were monthly votes of 200 plus updates for the third update. There was a normal update at 6 p.m., which was the fourth update of the day. I said, if you guys are awesome with your monthly votes, I can update too. Thank you Light Smile Veil, O Circle Fish 0 Bookworm 168, and Yunhua Yuaching for your gifts yesterday. I will add updates for you guys. Oh, and oh. Chapter 54. Gu Nianji stared at her phone for a while and was wondering what Zhao Liangzi was doing at her apartment when she heard his phone chime. A text message came in. Gu Nianji instinctively glanced at it and saw the contents of the message. It was from Avinan. Weinan, it's that time of the month again. I missed the ginger tea you made yourself. Gu Nianji's heart was in turmoil. She pouted and pushed his phone further away from her. Not long after, Mei Xiaowen walked over with a large tray. He placed it in front of Gu Nianji and took out 2 portions of food. Gu Nianji silently picked up a pair of disposable chopsticks to eat. Mei Xiaowen sat beside her and snickered at her profile as he ate. Gu Nianji was embarrassed and knocked on his bowl with her chopsticks. Eat your food. What are you looking at? Mei Xiaowen's eyes sparkled behind his gold-rimmed glasses. He smiled and said, Of course I'm looking at you. I'm not a noob. Why are you looking at me during lunch? Gu Nianji picked up her iced milk and took a sip. You're a feast for the eyes. Mei Xiaowen reached out with his free hand to hold Gu Nianji's. Gu Nianji quickly struggled free. Don't, I still have to eat. As they spoke, Mei Xiaowen's phone rang again. The first thing he saw was AI Weinan's message, which he had missed earlier. The phone kept ringing but Mei Xiaowen didn't pick it up. Instead, he stared at AI Weinan's text, lost in thought. He couldn't help but think of the distant past. His gaze lingered on the words, ginger sugar black tea. Gu Nianji noticed that Mei Xiaowen wasn't picking up the phone. She asked curiously, What's wrong? Who called? If you don't want to answer it, then hang up. The ringtone is so noisy. Oh, it's the student council. Mei Xiaowen snapped back to reality and answered the call. He said a few perfunctory words to the person on the phone and hung up. Then he opened his phone and scrolled through Weibo. Gu Nianji finished eating and saw that there was still more than half of his food left. She asked, What's wrong? Can't eat? Or is it the student council? The student council is busy, I'll send you back first. Mei Xiaowen stood up, too lazy to eat anymore, so he threw the rest of the food away. When the two of them got up and left the cafeteria, a woman wearing Chanel's newest summer dress walked in. The woman was none other than Feng Yishi's older sister, Feng Yichen. She watched as Gu Nianji smiled as she walked past her. The tall, thin, elegant man next to her had his arm around her shoulders. She recognized this man as well. He was Mei Xiaowen, the class monitor of her sister Feng Yishi's class. He was the only son of the Mei family in Sea City, a wealthy family that the Feng family used to curry favor with. The two men walked past her as if there was no one else around, and did not recognize her at all. Feng Yichen turned around and watched as Mei Xiaowen opened the door to a Buick and let Gu Nianji in. Yichen, what are you looking at? Feng Yichen's roommate glanced over and saw them as well. That's the golden couple from class 1 year 4 of our faculty. They're together? Feng Yichen looked away and walked with her roommates to the second floor of the cafeteria. They'd been together for a long time, more than a month, right? You've been there too. Senior year is when many student couples break up, but it's also when many couples form a rapid-fire relationship. Feng Yichen and her roommates were third-year master's students at Sea University's Faculty of Law. They were also graduating this year. Feng Yichen did not think much of her roommate's praise for Mei Xiaowen and Gu Nianji. Golden couple? She smiled strangely. Lustful couple? What did you say? Feng Yichen's roommate was too focused on the menu to hear what Feng Yichen had said. Nothing, I was complimenting them. Feng Yichen smiled. Let's go eat over there. Her roommate did not want to end the conversation. After finding a seat, she said excitedly, Right, I heard that the famous Professor He Jichu at B University recruited Gu Nianji as a master's student. It's such a pity for your sister. If it weren't for the accident, the spot would have been yours. What did you say? Feng Yichen looked up abruptly. Her almond-shaped eyes narrowed. Her face was clouded. Didn't Gu Nianji miss the interview? He Jichu was famous for hating people who were late. How was that possible? She did miss it, but I heard that she was seriously ill and had a medical note. That's why Professor He gave her a second interview. Is this information accurate? Feng Yichen's voice was very low, almost eerie. Her roommate looked at her in surprise. Of course. You haven't been to the faculty building recently, have you? They've already posted the admission list. Feng Yichen had completely lost her appetite. She dipped her rice into her bowl and stood up. I have something to do. I'll be going. She left the cafeteria without looking back. What's wrong with her? She still thinks she's a spoiled brat? Feng Yichen's roommate muttered unhappily behind her. It was the weekend again. Gu Nianji had not planned on returning to her apartment in Fengyao Precinct this weekend. Chunlai had told her that she had recovered and no more checkups were needed. Hua Xiaoheng had also reportedly left Sea City. What was the point of returning to her empty apartment alone? But ever since Zhao Liang's call about her pajamas on Thursday, she had been restless. She kept wondering how he had found her pajamas. Also, ever since lunch on Thursday, Mei Xiaowen seemed to be busy with the student council. He had less time to spend with her, so she took the time to go back. Gu Nianji noticed the change immediately as she hurried back to her apartment. Rushing into Hua Xiaoheng's room, she discovered that it looked like it had been burglarized. All of Hua Xiaoheng's personal belongings were gone. The bathroom was clean and tidy, like a showroom for sale. There were no signs of anyone having lived there. She went upstairs to the study, gym and gun room. Everything that belonged to Hua Xiaoheng was gone. All of her belongings were there except for the pajamas under her pillow. But that was actually Hua Xiaoheng's too. If there really was a thief, then the thief must have been very cunning. She knew that it couldn't have been the work of a thief. When she recalled Zhao Liang's call that day, she understood everything. Gu Nianji crossed her arms and slowly sat down by the door of the gun room. She buried her head between her knees. The door was soundproof and covered with a thick layer of black cowhide. There were dozens of black copper nails nailed to the door. It looked extraordinary. Leaning against the tall, dark, soundproof door, Gu Nianji appeared even weaker. She hugged her knees and sat there for the entire night. Her mind was blank and her heart felt like it had been hollowed out. This time she truly believed that Hua Xiaoheng wanted to cut all ties with her. Forget it, she would be 18 in the next half of the year. Hua Xiaoheng's duty as her guardian would end then. That day would come sooner or later. But why couldn't he just explain things to her? What did he mean by quietly taking things away when she wasn't around? Uncle Hua wasn't like that, was he? What was going on? When dawn broke, Gu Nianji pursed her lips and slowly looked up. She watched the lights in the room brighten, and everything in front of her gradually became clear. It was a new day. Her legs were stiff and numb. She rubbed her legs with her hands and wanted to stand up. Just then she heard her phone ring again. Second monthly pass of 100 plus updates delivered. Asking for monthly and recommendation votes. Monthly pass of 200 plus updates delivered at 1 p.m. Fourth at 6 p.m. was normal. Chapter 55. She swiped open her phone to see it was Mei Xiaowen calling. Realizing someone was thinking about her when she was lonely was like finding charcoal on a snowy winter night, or a thirsty traveler seeing a spring in the desert. No one could refuse such kindness. Gu Nianji quietly said hello. Mei Xiaowen smiled at the other end. Nianji, you're home? Did something happen at home? Gu Nianji shook her head. Nothing, I want to go back to school. Then I'll pick you up. Mei Xiaowen woke up early to go for his morning exercise. After breakfast, he remembered he hadn't eaten with Gu Nianji for a few days and quickly called her. Gu Nianji supported herself against the soundproof door of the gun room and slowly stood up, her voice trembling. I just woke up, I'll call you after breakfast. Mei Xiaowen agreed with a smile and hung up. Putting away the phone, Gu Nianji hesitated. Since Hua Xiaoheng had already moved his things, should she leave? After all, this was an apartment under Hua Xiaoheng's name, and the owner had already moved out. It wouldn't be good for her to stay here, right? Also, she was about to graduate from university and start grad school next year. It wasn't too late to find a summer job now. With an income, she could rent her own place and not have to worry about someone randomly barging in and taking everything away. Gu Nianji called Yin Shixiang in a fit of pique. Brother Xiong. Gu Nianji said matter-of-factly, did I wake you? Yin Shixiang was in a meeting with Hua Xiaoheng, Zhao Liangze, and other core members of the Special Operations Forces. Seeing it was Gu Nianji's call, he quickly took it and got up to leave the meeting room. It's fine, I'm already up. Yin Shixiang chuckled and mouthed Gu Nianji to Hua Xiaoheng to let him know it was Gu Nianji. Hua Xiaoheng didn't move and motioned for Zhao Liangze to continue. The early preparations for the 6th Military Region are almost complete. The money and people are in place. Hua Xiao, now we should confirm all the personnel and report it to the higher-ups. Zhao Liangze took out a report from the printer and distributed it to everyone in the room. Gu Nianji gritted her teeth and said to Yin Shixiang over the phone, Brother Xiong, I'm at the Fengya Precinct Department. All of Uncle Hua's things are gone. Did a thief break in? Should I call the police? No. Don't call the police. Yin Shixiang was sweating profusely. There's no burglar. Who would dare to steal your apartment? My apartment? This isn't my apartment, I'm just staying here. Gu Nianji replied calmly. Then why is Uncle Hua's stuff gone? Well, it's like this. Yin Shixiang had always been eloquent, but at this moment he was at a loss for words. He stammered for a long time before saying, Aren't you going to the imperial capital for your postgraduate studies? Oh. Haha, Brother Xiong, don't make up excuses. You know that I'm only going to the imperial capital for my postgraduate studies next spring. Forget it, as long as I know it's not a thief I can rest assured. You know that Uncle Hua's things are confidential. It would be bad if he lost them. I know how busy Uncle Hua is, so I don't want to trouble him. Tell him I'm moving out today. In some ways, Gu Nianji was even more eloquent than Yin Shixiang. Don't move. Yin Shixiang's glib tongue was useless now. He quickly covered the phone and poked his head into the conference room. Hua Xiao, please come out, it's urgent. When Hua Xiaoheng didn't move, he added, It's about Miss Gu. Hua Xiaoheng looked up at him, his gaze sharp and steady. This is your mission. But she said she's moving out. Yin Shixiang had no choice but to say it out loud. Before Hua Xiaoheng could speak, Zhao Liangzi snorted and slammed the mouse on the table. What did I tell you? We special operations forces can't be simple and crude when working with the public. Hua Xiaoheng ignored him and stood up from his seat. The thick, dark leather belt around his waist tightened around his lean waist. He stuck one hand in his trouser pocket and held a cigarette in the other as he strode out, his army boots clacking loudly on the floor. Yin Shixiang quickly repeated Gu Nianji's words, then quietly complained, I didn't even know how to explain it to her. She thought there was a burglar in the house and wanted to call the police. See, I told you we can't move your things out, right? That's too much. The little girl can't take it anymore and is now clamoring to move out. Move what? Hua Xiaoheng flicked the ash off his cigarette. Tell her that the apartment is now under her name, it's her house. The property ownership certificate is in the safe in the study, she knows the password. Yin Shixiang's eyes bulged and he stuttered, Deed of the house is transferred to Nianji? Oh my god, the penthouse duplex in the best area of Fengya Precinct has a living space of 160 square meters, and the market price is at least 5 million, and it's given to Gu Nianji just like that. Hua Xiaoheng grunted, also the villa in the XN Precinct will be her dowry in the future, don't tell her yet. Okay, you talk to her, I'll continue the meeting. He turned and walked back in. His back was tall and straight, and Yin Shixiang couldn't help but admire him. The door to the conference room slammed shut in front of Yin Shixiang. Yin Shixiang stared at the door and almost knelt down. This was the best guardian in the empire, a role model for them. Unfortunately, he didn't have the ability to throw a penthouse duplex at her without a word. Yin Shixiang snapped out of his daze and picked up his phone, smiling dreamily at Gu Nianji. Nianji, don't be angry, Hua Xiao was on official business. Also, the apartment is now under your name, it's not appropriate for him to live there, so he moved his things. If you don't like living there alone, you can live at our base. You have a room here too, did you forget? Why would you move out? Gu Nianji hadn't expected this at all and was stunned on the other end of the phone, her reaction exactly like Yin Shixiang's. She also stuttered, what? This apartment is already under my name. But this is Uncle Hua's house. I can't take it. I know, Hua Xiao said. Yin Shixiang almost slipped up and quickly corrected himself. Hua Xiao completed the paperwork before he left for the business trip. Look in the safe in the study, the property ownership certificate should be in there. You know the password to the safe, right? Gu Nianji gripped the phone tightly, her voice trembling as she stuttered. I thought Uncle Hua didn't care about me anymore. How could he not care about you? Yin Shixiang was shocked. Did you forget that you also have a room in Hua Xiao's small building? Also, if he really didn't care about you, why would he do all this for you? Tiske, even the dowry was ready, too bad he couldn't say it yet. Yin Shixiang couldn't help but silently curse Hua Xiaoheng. He was making a simple matter complicated. Gu Nianji leaned against the heavy leather door of the gun room, feeling incredibly ashamed. She had been so unreasonable just now, she was gauging the heart of a gentleman with her own mean measure. She raised her hand and slapped herself hard in the face. Nianji, what's wrong? Yin Shixiang heard a loud slap on the other end of the phone. It sounded like a slap and was instantly alarmed. Did someone hit you? Gu Nianji said quietly. Nothing, I just slapped myself. In Shixiang was surprised. That's ruthless. Nianji, you really hit yourself when you're ruthless. On the third night watch, 200 monthly votes were delivered. There would be a fourth night watch at 6 p.m. Would relatives still be able to vote? Chapter 56. Gu Nianji giggled at In Shixiang's teasing. The considerate In Shixiang didn't ask why she had slapped herself, and Gu Nianji didn't explain. She hung up the phone and went downstairs. She walked back to the bedroom window and drew the curtains. She opened the bay window and was bathed in the warm sunlight. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath of the fresh morning air. She felt refreshed. As long as it wasn't Hua Xiaoheng who decided to cut ties with her. She definitely wouldn't accept this apartment. She would return it to him when she had the chance to see him. However, she appreciated this rare gesture of goodwill. What she needed was the sense of security of not being abandoned. Uncle Hua was still her Uncle Hua. Gu Nianji wasn't in a hurry to leave. She called Mei Xiaowen and smiled. Xiaowen, I still have something to do. I won't be going back for now. I'll go back on the weekend. Okay, I'll pick you up on the weekend. Mei Xiaowen had been reminded of his high school days because of Ai Weinan's ginger tea comment. He had been gloomy for a few days. But life had to go on and there was no point in dwelling on the past. Besides, he hadn't seen Gu Nianji for a few days, and he realized that he missed her a lot. This had never happened before. In time, Gu Nianji might be able to erase the Zhusha mole in his heart. After all, Gu Nianji was the only woman in the last 4 years who had moved his heart. NB. On Sunday night, Mei Xiaowen arrived at the entrance of Fengya Precinct on time to pick Gu Nianji up for school. Gu Nianji only carried her backpack this time, and didn't bring her small suitcase. Mei Xiaowen opened the car door and his eyes quickly scanned Gu Nianji. Where's your suitcase? I left it in the apartment. I don't need it today. Gu Nianji smiled as she got in. The two of them drove out of Fengya Precinct, stopping once midway to refuel. Feng Yichen happened to be walking out of the convenience store at the gas station. She saw Mei Xiaowen and Gu Nianji sitting in his car. After not seeing her for a few days, this little girl had become even more charming. Feng Yichen looked at them a few more times before she got into her car and left. She was going to visit her parents and younger sister at the detention center tomorrow. She was in a very bad mood, so she went out for a drive. She hadn't expected to see the person she least wanted to see, Gu Nianji and her tall, rich and handsome boyfriend flaunting their affection. Her mood worsened. Mei Xiaowen finished refueling and returned to the car. He drove to campus with Gu Nianji and chatted with her as they drove. Nianji, where do you want to go on our graduation trip? Everything is fine. Gu Nianji said nonchalantly, but then she remembered something and added sheepishly, it's best not to go too far. My family won't let me go if it's too far away. I know. Mei Xiaowen nodded. I thought about that too, so the class committee chose Dufeng Mountain Resort Villa. It's only 25 kilometers away from the city. We'll get there in less than an hour on the highway. Dufeng Mountain Resort Villa? Gu Nianji took out her phone to search for the location and found that it was in the north and south of Sea City, opposite the Special Operations Forces base. The Special Operations Forces base was in the north, and Dufeng Mountain Resort was in the south. But they were both near Sea City, so it wasn't too far away. Brother Xiong would probably agree. Gu Nianji grunted and looked at her phone. It's near the water and back to the mountain. Not a bad location. I've been there a few times. It's quite fun. There are many quaint courtyards in the villa, and long corridors along Little Mirror Lake. In the summer you can jump into the water from the balcony and swim. Mei Xiaowen had already decided that this time, he would live closer to Gu Nianji. There were more than 20 people in their class and there were 6 or 7 rooms in each courtyard including the main room and the wing. It was just enough space. We'll rent the entire courtyard and provide a one-stop service for food, drinks and entertainment. At night we can barbecue, sing, dance, swim by the pool, fish and play games. Gu Nianji listened to Mei Xiaowen's exciting plan and couldn't help but be fascinated. If you don't mind, I'll go back and confirm with them. Then we'll go talk to the villa about the price and the rooms. If everything goes well, we can go by the end of May. Mei Xiaowen was an expert at organizing these kinds of activities. He was also a player with style. NB, the next day was Monday and the weather was not very good. It was overcast and looked like it was going to rain. Feng Yichen walked out of her high-end hotel apartment and saw a familiar BMW 7 parked in front of her apartment. She got into the car and smiled at the sunglasses-wearing man in the car. She leaned over and kissed him on the cheek. Brother Bin, why did you come in person? You're going to see your future parents-in-law and sister-in-law. Of course Brother Bin can't go with you. The man took off his sunglasses to reveal a dark red face. He was in his 40s. He was not young, but he had taken good care of himself. His eyebrows were thick and dark, his nose was tall, his mouth was wide and square, his face was square and strong, and his body was magnificent. One of his arms was as thick as Feng Yichen's waist. Feng Yichen clung to him and buried her head in his arms. She was in a bad mood. Brother Bin, you don't have to go to that kind of place. Feng Yichen was going to the detention center to visit her parents and sister. Brother Bin chuckled and said to the driver in front of him, "Let's go." After dropping Feng Yichen off at the detention center, Brother Bin did not get out of the car. Instead, he stopped a distance away and waited for her. The driver had been Brother Bin's confidant for many years. When he saw this, he asked in confusion, "Brother Bin, do you really have to be so nice to Miss Feng?" I only wanted to play around before. I've never played around with such a beautiful, rich and beautiful female graduate student. However, her family was in the police station, yet she still thought of getting them out. Just this thought alone made me, Brother Biao, take a fancy to her. Think about it, all of us who take advantage of others, who doesn't want to be in jail one day and have a considerate person helping us out? Don't you think so? The driver had not thought of this and finally understood. He tapped his fingers on the steering wheel and smiled. "Brother Bin, you're so thoughtful." NB, Feng Yichen sat in the reception room of the detention center. When she saw her mother, Hu Qiaozhen, hobbling in, her hair almost completely white, she felt bad. "What are you crying for? Last time you said there was a very good law firm in the capital. Did you hire them?" Hu Qiaozhen looked at Feng Yichen eagerly. "Your father and I are counting on you." Feng Yichen shook her head. "I did, but they wouldn't take the job." Hu Qiaozhen immediately cried out, "Why? Didn't you give me enough money? You can't save money at a time like this. Otherwise your father and I will go to jail." Number 38. Be quiet. The police officer at the detention center shouted angrily. Hu Qiaozhen quickly bent down and lowered her voice. She looked at Feng Yichen eagerly. "Yichen, you have to think of something. Your father and I can't eat or sleep here, so we're counting on you. And your sister. And NB, I'm looking for monthly votes and recommendation tickets. Thank you very much for your help. When this chapter was sent out, it was a bit of a sissy. The order of the chapters was out of order, and I was given a new public volume. Where was this chapter sent to? So I changed it and increased the word count." Chapter 57. Those who have already read it can read it again. I added a little more content. I'm also asking for a monthly vote. My heart is so stifled, I'm so tired that I don't like it. I hope that those who like this book can subscribe to the original version and vote more monthly. To be continued. Chapter 58. Hu Qiaozhen was asking for too much. She didn't even know what the situation was like at home. Feng Yichen's heart was suddenly in turmoil. She said angrily, "I know. I'll try my best." "You have to try your best." After Hu Qiaozhen went in, her father, Feng Guodong, came out. Feng Guodong's hair was all white. He used to be as fat as a ball, but now he was as thin as a bamboo pole. He looked even older. "Yichen, your uncle and his family set us up this time. They're only bankrupt, but your mother and I are going to jail. Don't be shy. Go ask them for money. Ask them to get us out. Otherwise, when I get out, I'll teach them a lesson." Feng Guodong clenched his fists and waved them in front of him. He was so agitated that his blood pressure rose. Feng Yichen couldn't say anything bad about her uncle's family. She could only comfort Feng Guodong with kind words. The last person she saw was her younger sister, Feng Yishi. Feng Yichen felt exhausted. She braced herself and watched as her sallow sister walked over and sat in front of her. "Yishi, are you okay?" Today was the last day she saw Feng Yishi in the detention center. Tomorrow she would be sent to the Northwest labor camp for a year of hard labor. "Big sister. You have to save me. You have to save me. I don't want to go to the labor camp. Look, my nails are cracked, my hair is split, and my face is so dry. Did you bring me a face mask or a hair mask? I haven't had a manicure in a long time." Feng Yishi sobbed. She knew that these things were already beyond her reach, but she still had to say it out loud to feel better. "Yishi, don't be like this. You only have 1 year. You'll be fine once it's over." Feng Yichen said weakly, "Mom and Dad still need a lot of money for the lawsuit. I can't take care of you for now." Sister, you can't just leave me like this. Feng Yishi leaned on the table and wiped the tears off her face with her sleeve. She gritted her teeth and said, Sister, I want to ask you something else. Speak. What happened to that little b***** Gunyenji? Feng Yichen was a little surprised. She sat up straight and looked around cautiously. Why are you asking about her? Don't you think you have enough trouble? Feng Yishi was only charged with drug use and possession of a large amount of illegal substances. But if Gunyenji's affair was exposed, Feng Yichen had a feeling that she would be in big trouble. Feng Yishi wouldn't just be sentenced to re-education through labor. This was also why she didn't reveal the truth behind Gunyenji's 1-week sick leave at school. Gunyenji would be humiliated, but Feng Yichen would never be able to clear her name. In the end, it would be traced back to her. Their entire family couldn't possibly end up in the police station, right? Feng Yishi stiffened her neck and glared at Gunyenji. Did she get into Hijichu's postgraduate program? Am I right? How did you know? Feng Yichen was even more shocked. She had only found out not long ago. Feng Yishi had been locked up all this time. How did she know? Don't worry about how I know. Just tell me if it's true or not. Yes, she did get into Hijichu's postgraduate program. The faculty has already put up an acceptance notice. Feng Yichen sighed. Don't think about it anymore. Let's just let it go, okay? Of course not. Feng Yishi's expression was already fierce. She pushed herself up from the table and leaned forward. Her eyes were spitting fire. Why do I have to go to re-education through labor, but she can leisurely get into Hijichu's postgraduate program? That's mine. It's mine. It's all mine. What right does she have? How can a lowly poor girl like her deserve it? Feng Yichen hurriedly gestured at her. Sit down. Sit down. Someone's watching. 2 female officers from the detention center had been staring at them. Feng Yishi slowly came back to her senses. She plopped down on the chair and hugged her head as she began to sob. This time, her sobs were different from the loud wails from before. She was sobbing quietly. She was extremely upset but had nowhere to vent her frustration. Feng Yichen bit her lower lip as she looked at her. She didn't dare say anything unnecessary. After Feng Yishi finished crying, she was completely dispirited. The person she was most jealous of, the person she despised the most, had gotten what she wanted the most. No matter how she tried to stop it, no matter what she did, no matter what price she had to pay, it was all useless. This realization completely destroyed Feng Yishi's confidence and willpower. Feng Yichen watched her sister go from being a smart and beautiful university girl to being like this. A deep resentment towards Gunyenji rose in her heart again. How could Gunyenji, who had shamelessly slept with several men, still pretend to be pure when her sister had lost everything? How could she still hook up with a rich husband and walk under the sun together? She couldn't even think about Gunyenji getting into Hijichu's postgraduate program. Just thinking about it was like a knife stabbing into her heart. If his sister couldn't get it, no one else deserved it. Their family was already bankrupt anyway. What did she have to worry about? Even she had been dragged down with her. A fallen phoenix was no better than a chicken. Wasn't she a chicken? Don't worry, Yishi. I'll do my best to help you. Feng Yichen nodded at Feng Yishi through the glass window. She didn't say anything else because this was the detention center. She wasn't stupid enough to discuss with Feng Yishi how to make Gunyenji's life a living hell. Everything in the detention center was recorded and recorded. Who knew what was going on in the Feng family's case? Feng Yichen never thought that her family had done anything wrong. She only agreed with the mysterious email. She also believed that they had messed with someone they shouldn't have messed with, but she still had no idea who they had messed with. She didn't dare mess with important people, so she could only vent her anger on a nobody like Gunyenji. She firmly believed that the weak Gunyenji was seriously ill, must have been because she had fallen into Feng Yishi's trap and lost control of herself with a man. That was why she needed to rest at home for a week before she could go to school. She was just an orphan girl without any support, who would cry out for her if she was beaten up. Even Gunyenji's nominal distant relative and guardian would probably only be grateful to her for helping him get rid of this burden. Feng Yichen left the detention center and got into Brother Biao's car. She didn't say a word the entire way. When she returned to Brother Biao's apartment, she acted out of character and took the initiative. That night, she served Brother Biao so well that he almost couldn't get out of bed the next day. After that, Brother Biao was completely at ease with Feng Yichen. He also brought her into his circle. His circle could not see the light of day and there were a lot of outlaws. Feng Yichen was beautiful and knowledgeable. When she was interested in befriending someone, none of the men at the bottom of society could resist her charm. Moreover, she had Brother Biao's strong backing, so she quickly won a place in Brother Biao's circle. However, she was very careful and walked the boundaries of the law. She would never do anything illegal. She mainly played around the edges and tried her best not to get her hands dirty. She had only been planning for a few days when her luck came. An MB. I'm looking for monthly and recommendation votes at 3 updates today. There will be 300 monthly updates at 1 in the afternoon and regular updates at 6 in the evening. I've said it before, if you guys give me your monthly votes, I'll update too. There's no 4th update today because there aren't many monthly votes left. You can get 400 monthly updates tomorrow. Of course, if you have 500 monthly votes today, there will be 4 updates tomorrow. And NBO, and oh. Chapter 59. One night in early May, Feng Yichen came back from school and went to Brother Biao's nightclub to look for him. She overheard the gang leaders discussing something. When are the Big Circle boys leaving? Are they trying to take over our territory? I suspect that too. They've been here for over a month and we pay for their food and necessities. They pull out their guns to scare us. What's there to brag about guns they got from the black market? If they piss me off, I'll bring my men and kill them all. Don't, the Big Circle boys are all about money. 1 against 10, so it's best not to piss them off. We're here for money, not to fight them. The people in the room were all the leaders of the nearby city's underworld. They were on equal footing with Brother Biao, but even they were wary of the so-called Big Circle boys. Feng Yichen's interest was piqued. Sister-in-law, you're here. Blondie, who had come out of the room to smoke, saw Feng Yichen walk over with a smile, and quickly stopped to bow and bow. Brother Biao hasn't been feeling well lately, so I'm here to see if he's taking his medicine. Also, he's taking Western medicine, so he can't smoke or drink. Feng Yichen spoke softly, just loud enough for the people in the room to hear. Brother Biao smiled broadly and invited her in, introducing her to the people in the room. Feng Yichen's background and education were much higher than the people in the room, and Brother Biao felt proud to bring her out. The men in the room were full of praise for Feng Yichen, and began to gossip, forgetting about the Big Circle boys. Feng Yichen was in no hurry. She sat patiently beside Brother Biao and watched him, not allowing him to drink. After the banquet, Feng Yichen followed Brother Biao home. On the way, she heard Brother Biao sigh. The Big Circle boys aren't afraid of death and they have a lot of weapons. It's not easy to settle them. If they're so strong, why don't you keep them here, Brother Biao? Feng Yichen asked tentatively, her hand softly creeping up Brother Biao's forehead to gently massage him. Brother Biao had a migraine, so he closed his eyes and patted Feng Yichen's arm. We can't keep them. There can't be 2 tigers on one mountain, and the Big Circle boys are ambitious. I'm afraid we can't satisfy them here. If that's the case, then what's Brother Biao worried about? They'll leave anyway. Feng Yichen's voice was even gentler and more considerate. Her hands moved to massage Brother Biao's arms. Brother Biao sighed and pulled Feng Yichen into his arms. They can't leave now because they don't have money? The key was that what they wanted was not a small sum of money but a large sum of money. Brother Biao and the rest could not bear to cut their own flesh and bleed. No money? Feng Yichen understood immediately. She smiled and said, the Big Circle boys are doing business without any cost. What's there to worry about, Brother Biao? Then he said lightly, we don't have much here but we have a lot of rich people. Brother Biao yawned, you're right, let's not care about them. Brother Biao and Feng Yichen stopped talking, but everyone in the car was thinking about what Feng Yichen had just said. There were indeed a lot of rich people in Sea City, and it was one of the richest in the entire empire. Moreover, there weren't as many rich people with powerful backgrounds here as there were in the imperial capital. Therefore, Sea City was a better choice than the imperial capital. But how to get money from rich people without provoking those with powerful backgrounds was up to the Big Circle boys' foresight and skill. Brother Biao, who had been annoyed by the Big Circle boys for more than a month, opened his shrewd eyes in the dark of the car and snorted coldly. This time he would let the police and the Big Circle boys do their dirty work. They were just there to watch the show. Brother Dawei, someone in Sea City leaked a piece of information to us. A few days later, one of the leaders of the Big Circle boys approached their leader, Yang Dawei. A class of graduating seniors from the Sea University Faculty of Law is going on a graduation trip to Dufeng Mountain Resort Villa. University graduates? What do they have to offer? Yang Dawei threw a poker card on the table disapprovingly. Bomb. They were playing poker. This is going to be a lot of money. The leader moved closer to Yang Dawei's ear and whispered. I heard that most of them are rich second-generation heirs with billionaires in their families. A few poor students are poor, so let's just treat them as a bonus. Really? Yang Dawei's interest was piqued. Do you have any specific information? I've spent a lot of money to get a name list of the class with their family backgrounds. Take a look, Brother Dawei, it's really worth it. Yang Dawei threw the poker card in his hand. You play one round for me. He took the name list and looked it over carefully. When he saw that the Mei family, the Wang family, and the Chao family were on the list, his eyes lit up. These were famous families in the surrounding 5 provinces. We'll have to look into their backgrounds carefully. If they're just rich and don't have any powerful backers, we can consider them. Yang Dawei was a cautious person. Although he was already interested, he did not say anything definite. I've looked into it. These 3 families are indeed just rich but don't have any backers. And these other families? The leaders circled a few more names. They're not as rich as those 3 families, but they're still richer than the average person. They can afford to fork out 1 or 2 million. Really? The others stopped playing and threw away the cards in their hands to join in the fun. This time there were 8 of them in Sea City. They were known as the 8 Warriors. They were all very powerful, and it was not an exaggeration to say that they had been through hundreds of battles. However, because they were too powerful, they could no longer stay in the empire. They were wanted by the police everywhere, so the 8 of them decided to find a way to leave the empire and conquer other countries. However, it was not that easy to get out. They were wanted criminals and did not have valid IDs. The only way out of the country was to sneak in. If they wanted to sneak in, they would have to pay the smuggler a large sum of money. They also had to raise the money for the 8 of them to settle down before they could leave. They also had parents and children. The 8 of them would need at least 10 million to settle down. Including the smuggler's stowaway fee, they would need at least 20 million in cash. It's rare for them to be together. We don't have to split up. If we can get this done, everyone's stowaway fee will be covered. Yang Dawei's assistant, warrior number 2, looked at the photos on the name list with a lecherous gaze. There are 6 female university students. Look at their faces and figures. They're no worse than Brother Biao's mistress. Then let's get ready. It's been a long time since we've worked. I can't wait. I'm getting hard just looking at these photos. A few weeks passed and soon it was the last weekend of May. It was also the day that the Sea University Faculty of Law's Class 1 had decided on for their graduation trip. They had booked a courtyard at Dufeng Mountain Resort Villa. There were 7 rooms, 6 of which were livable and 1 of which was a large living room. There were exactly 24 people in their class. There were 8 girls and 16 boys. 4 people to a room, so there was no need to rearrange the rooms. It was just like living in a dormitory at school. The second monthly update has been delivered with 300 extra updates, asking for monthly and recommendation votes. The third update at 6 in the evening was considered normal. Thank you to the Lord of the Guanghan Palace A for the Heisher yesterday. Chapter 60. Brother Xiong, I'm going on a graduation trip to Dufeng Mountain Resort Villa this weekend. I won't be coming back to the apartment. Gun Yanji texted Yin Shixiang on Thursday. She had to report to Hua Xiaoheng's men if she wanted to leave Sea City alone. Yin Shixiang looked up the address and saw that Dufeng Mountain Resort Villa was only 25 kilometers away from Sea City. It was connected by a highway, so the traffic was smooth. The area was also surrounded by small, affluent towns. Many wealthy people had built villas for vacations in the area, and Dufeng Mountain Resort Villa had the best location in the area. The villa was built against the mountain and surrounded half of Little Mirror Lake. Little Mirror Lake was an inland lake and could lead to the ocean if one swam straight ahead. The water was clear and cool, and was indeed a good place to relax on a summer day. Yin Shixiang notified the Special Operations Forces member with Gun Yanji. Miss Gu is going on a graduation trip to Dufeng Mountain Resort Villa this weekend. You can go on vacation with her. The person chuckled. Roger that. I want Mr. Hua to reimburse me for the expenses. Of course he'll be reimbursed. There's even a subsidy. You've finally fallen into the trap, Yin Shixiang scolded jokingly and hung up the phone. On Friday evening, Gun Yanji's tour bus arrived at the entrance of Sea University. All 24 of the Sea University Faculty of Law 4th grade students, carrying backpacks and duffel bags, boarded the bus and happily made their way to Dufeng Mountain Resort Villa. This was the last time in their 4 years of university that they were going on a class trip together. In a little over a month they would all be going their separate ways. Many of them would never see each other again, so everyone treasured this graduation trip very much. The station wagon sped along the highway at lightning speed, and it only took half an hour for it to exit the highway exit. However, they still had to take a mountain road to get to the entrance of Dufeng Mountain Resort Villa. Although it wasn't long, it was still much slower than the highway. After another 20 minutes, they finally got out of the bus at the entrance of Dufeng Mountain Resort Villa. Who would have thought that they weren't the only group of fourth-year students from C University's Faculty of Law who came here for a graduation trip? Class rep, look at the tour bus over there. Isn't that Class 2's team? Strongman poked Mei Xiaowen in the shoulder and motioned for him to look over there. Mei Xiaowen looked over and waved at his classmate. He smiled and said, I know. That day when I said that we would come here for our graduation trip, after discussing with the class, they also decided to come here. Don't you think the more the merrier? Oh. Strongman dragged his feet and walked behind Mei Xiaowen with his backpack on his back. He whispered, they have ulterior motives. Who knows what they're up to? What are you talking about? Mei Xiaowen was all smiles. We're all classmates. Let's spend the last month or two in harmony. After that, we'll go our separate ways. When Mei Xiaowen said this, Strongman couldn't say anything else. He and Mei Xiaowen led a few members of Class 1's committee over to Class 2. The class monitor of Class 2, whose surname was Chang, was waiting for them at the door with Class 2's entertainment committee member, Song Ruyu. Class rep Mei, you're too late. Song Ruyu winked at Mei Xiaowen. According to our agreement, shouldn't you give up Minuet Court to our class? Strongman looked at Mei Xiaowen in surprise. Class rep, did you make a bet with them? Mei Xiaowen adjusted his gold-rimmed glasses and smiled. It was just a joke. Ryu, did you take it seriously? Of course I took it seriously. How could I not take Class rep Mei seriously? Song Ryu winked at Mei Xiaowen. It was obvious that she hadn't given up yet. Gu Nianji's roommates saw this from a short distance away and were somewhat disdainful. I can't believe that scheming B*TCH from Class 2 followed us here. I wouldn't have come if I'd known she was coming. She's disgusting. She's going to ruin my 4-year graduation trip. Green Tea Fong poked fun at Song Ryu with dignity and elegance. Little Temptress pulled Gu Nianji by the arm and walked into the resort. She held her head high and said, we didn't agree to change rooms. If there's a first-come, first-served rule here, then who's going to spend money to reserve rooms? Gu Nianji didn't want to talk to Song Ryu, so she didn't refuse. Little Temptress pulled her through the entrance of the resort. The usher of the resort came over to lead them in and asked, which courtyard did you guys choose? Minuet Court, C University Faculty of Law, Class 1. It must be Class rep Mei Xiaowen's name. Little Temptress quickly said as she looked around the resort. She was from the imperial capital, so she wasn't very familiar with the scenic areas around Sea City. During her 4 years in college, she had either gone back to the imperial capital or traveled abroad during the holidays. She had never been here before. The young lady of the resort smiled and led them south onto a winding path. Tall, straight, green bamboos were planted along the path. The evening breeze carried the fragrance of bamboo and the water vapor from Little Mirror Lake. The air was especially fresh and pleasant. Gu Nianji took a deep breath, and the grievance that had filled her chest earlier instantly vanished into thin air. Little Temptress was also very interested in the scenery. She looked around excitedly and pointed. The houses here are modeled after ancient times. Looks like they spent a lot of money on them. That's right. All of our hand-picking corridors are made of wood. It's not easy to build them. There are 10 or so large courtyards and the main structure is also wood. It reminds people of the past. It's a great place for a vacation. The hostess was very eloquent. She guided them all the way to Minuet Court. Minuet Court was built in the style of a Sihiyuan, with an elaborate entrance. Upon entering, one would see a large, square courtyard. Across the courtyard were 3 main rooms and on each side were 2 side rooms. There was also a side room. It could indeed be called an antique house. Little Temptress followed the hostess through the entrance of Minuet Court. Gu Nianji's eyes flashed as she walked in. She saw a small symbol of concentric circles drawn in chalk in the lower right corner of the entrance. The concentric circle symbol was very small, so it wouldn't be obvious during the day. However, the chalk in which it was drawn seemed to have a special fluorescent glow. When the sky was dark, the symbol became visible. However, the glow had a faint dark green to it. It almost blended in with the lush green grass next to the entrance. If it weren't for Gu Nianji's exceptional eyesight, most people wouldn't be able to see the small symbol even with a magnifying glass. Gu Nianji had accidentally discovered the symbol with a special dark green fluorescent glow. She did not make a fuss about it, nor did she stop. She merely paused at the entrance, then smiled and walked in. The furnishings in Minuet Court were truly magnificent. It was obvious that the operators of the resort had put in a lot of effort and care. While they had strived to emulate the ancient style, they had also secretly installed many modern features. For example, there was a completely postmodern bathroom, a central air conditioner that controlled the temperature, hidden electrical plugs in the dark, and electric lights that were made to look like ancient palace lanterns. There was also a ubiquitous TV that was indispensable to modern people. Gu Nianji turned on her phone and searched for the signal. Although they were in the mountains, the signal was particularly strong. There must be a signal station nearby. Little Temptress followed the hostess to the main room to check out the rooms. Gu Nianji wandered around the courtyard, her eyes inadvertently looking at the various doors. After a short while, her large, bright eyes narrowed. There were a total of 7 doors in the courtyard. However, on the lower right corner of 4 doors, there was the same fluorescent symbol. It was the same symbol as the one at the entrance to the courtyard. They were all dark green concentric circles. The only difference was the number of concentric circles. Some had 4 while others only had 1. And NB, the third update was delivered to him. Can you still vote for me? And NBO, and oh. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.